would like to get us moving into caucus here. We have quite a bit to go over today. All right. Okay, so we've got a pretty packed agenda for this morning. I know that many of our meetings have been pretty full. Just to kind of run council through what we've got going on today, we have the Port Authority here with us to kind of give us some updates here in caucus. We have a presentation from the County of Erie Reentry Department program, so that we'll hear from them and know that we don't have that budget item in front of us yet, but this is so that we can start learning more about the program and what's going to be coming in front of us soon. But as we start to look down this, I'd like to first open up to see if any councilors have questions on any of the ordinances that are coming for final passage. We have 3 before us today for final passage. Does anybody have any questions on those? Yes, we do have Attorney Wachter here. If we do have any questions on things that we're going to see with the Water Authority. He had sent his colleague last time who had answered a couple of the questions that we had posed. If there are no questions on items for final reading, I would ask that we move to items for first reading and see if there are any questions pertaining to those before us. Items 4, 5, and 6 are the historic designations that we saw in the public hearings. Good morning. Good morning. If council doesn't have any questions on those first readings, we can move on to new business, as there is no old business items. I will just ask then, Solicitor, could you give us an update on item number 2 under new business, just kind of an overview?
I actually don't know what that is. I think that's from the Planning Commission. I think they need to. I think there's something that came from the Planning Commission that you guys need to schedule a public hearing for. Is my understanding.
Okay.
So I think, but it doesn't say because that you guys need to schedule a public hearing. That's why it's part of my confusion. Someone from planning. Or Cooper. I think that's what that is.
Slightly putting you on the spot, Cooper.
Sure.
We're looking at new business item number 2. It's a resolution for the plan revision for the new land development resolution of Council of the City of Erie County, Pennsylvania.
It's the Arc Terrace project, Cooper, and it's about the sewer tap-ins. Do you have any information on that?
I don't. We've been meeting with them to address some concerns from the Engineering Bureau, and they've committed to making any adjustments that are needed.
Yeah, I think it's just to approve the sewer extensions for that project. I mean, and I think council remembers this is the Arc Terrace investment project at Bayview Heights. That's on 2nd and Cherry. Remember, you had that come before you
last year,
from the Planning Commission. So I think, and we can get more information for you, but I think this is just to do a sewer extension plan for that development. That's my understanding.
So this is just step 1 of
it's part of the land development. Certainly that, obviously that area needs additional sewer tap-ins for the development there.
Yeah, the Planning Commission has approved the preliminary plan, and before they submit their final plan, there's just a couple things they need to work through with engineering, and I think this is just an approval on that
Okay.
timeline.
All right, thank you. Council, any other questions on any other items that we see on the agenda? Then, Mayor, I do have, if we could just give a brief update. We had tabled, excuse me, the security contract, and I did see that there was some discussion in a meeting. If we could just get a brief update on where that is.
Sure, thank you. So at your last meeting, I believe, given the budget concerns we face, I think everyone is paying a lot of attention to every dime, which we appreciate. We're doing the same. Someone had noted, the cost of the current security contract for our security in the lobby had ended as of May 31st, and we had put it out to bid for a contract extension. We had received 3 bids, including the current company and another new company, but those were for 3-year contracts for security in the lobby at a pretty high price. I can't remember, but in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So you, council, had asked that we table that we maybe look at that and understand if there was a less expensive way to do it. So what we ended up doing was we extended the contract with our current company in a month-to-month contract. So they were done May 31st, but we asked them to continue on a month-to-month basis to give us a minute to see whether there's a, honestly, cheaper way to do security in the lobby. So what we're asking, and just so council doesn't feel like this is a never-ending process, we'd like 3 months of that month-to-month with them to give us a minute to talk with you about what security could look like and how we might do that in a less expensive fashion. So instead of entering into a 3-year or 1-year agreement, we're just doing a month-to-month contract with them and asking you to give us space for 3 months to come back to you with a hopefully less expensive but still safe plan for building security.
Thank you. And then the question I have then would be then for the solicitor. Remind me, we had upped the amount before things had to be triggered to be on our agenda, and I believe that this falls under that amount.
It does. I believe the actual cost is around $2,250 per week, so you do the math, that's right under $10,000, which is under I believe the cap is like around $13,000, so that would be a fair statement.
So that way, we're all on this. So when we don't see it on our agenda, that is why. But I wanted us to have that update so we don't think that it's been lost in translation here. But to know, I guess the other question I will have is that cap a monthly cap, or is that an overall cap?
Well, we've turned it into like a bunch of mini contracts by going month to month, essentially. So that's how I look at it. And also the advice from my end is that the proposal is 90 days. So at the end of 90 days, I believe the city should firmly do one thing or another with either a yearly type of contract or decide exactly. So that way it comes back before council for approval for something long-term.
Thank you.
That's my opinion.
Any other questions on that from council? Okay. Just as an update, from last week's study session, we received information the day prior to the study session occurring with the parking authority that their executive director and their board chair and their solicitor were not able to attend. We have given another contact. We've reached out via the solicitor to request by, I believe, Friday, a new date, giving a pretty hard deadline as to when we expect them to give us a date back where they can attend. We were invited to attend one of their board meetings, and I said no, that it needed to occur in a study meeting or study session with us so that the public could access, and that it was here, and we could display it through the city. So just note that we have that, and if that deadline passes, I guess we move into a different type of discussion. Any questions about anything here before I invite Port Authority to share?
Dr. Titus, I
Yes.
will note that the Parking Authority's next meeting is June 9th. That's this coming Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. I intend to go to that meeting, so if any of council would like to go with me, happy to go together, but I am planning to attend.
Then I will go ahead and invite the Port Authority to give us an update on the plan that we all have in front of us.
Thank you, President Titus. We appreciate the invite from our wonderful liaison, Councilwoman Pohl, to be here today. As many of you know, we do not have an ask by any means. We just wanted to review this, master plan refresh as we continue to work with the mayor, different aspects, of the waterfront. But before we begin, we have our CFO, Erica Knight, with us here. We have our Deputy Executive Director, Anna Franz. We have Board Member David Ulig with us as well. We're just excited here just to take a few moments to present this to you. But Councilman Horton, you know how I am, and I got to pay homage when I need to, and I want to make sure to pay that homage to you and all the time you spent with us, from being in the community, at the outreach we had over at East, and really being involved in this process. We thank you. Councilwoman Flores, we thank you as well for your community involvement in this process. And President Titus, our offer still stands. We're ready for you to come. We love when you come to fish, at the port, but we'd love to show you more about what we're about. And same to you, Councilman, Troop as well. Councilwoman Schaaf, we want to thank you too. As you see in the acknowledgments, we know you were heavily involved in the outreach. We know you and I have had some disagreements, and I appreciate Councilwoman Pohl for bringing you down to the port to have, further conversation to make sure we're on the same page, and I appreciate that. But again, Councilwoman Pohl, thank you so much for being our liaison and working with us every step of the way. I do have to pay one more bit of homage to our former liaison, Councilman Brzezinski. With that condemnation hearing we had, and your testimony talking about the East Side and the impact this has had on the youth growing up that are now adults living on the East Side, we really appreciate that. So without further ado, everyone knows how I am with the microphone. I won't keep talking, but we'll bring our Deputy Executive Director up to walk you through this master plan refresh very briefly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie, and thank you all for letting us give a very quick overview. There is a lot of information in this plan, and I'm going to do my best to give you just the high points here. So I might talk quick, but please know that you've got what is the executive summary of the document, the plan itself, in front of you, as well as the slides that we're going to be walking through. And then the full plan, as well as a very extensive appendices, is on our website. And I apologize. How do I advance?
Oh, they don't think they pulled it up.
Oh, okay. Well, then you've got it in front of you,
Yeah.
and you can just follow along there. So just a little explanation about the name. We called this document the Master Plan Refresh, a vision for the former Erie Coke site. That's because back in 2018, many of you are aware that the port did an extensive master plan for our facilities. At that time, the port did not own the former Erie Coke site. It was identified in that document as a goal, and with a lot of hard work, the port acquired the former Erie Coke site in 2024, which really gave us an opportunity to think creatively and strategically about how we might leverage that opportunity of 100 additional acres of land and 100 additional acres of water to better serve the community as a whole, as well as port facilities. So that's just an explanation for why we're calling this a refresh. Moving on to the second page, just a little context in terms of the history of the site, kind of where we are now and where we're headed. It's really, it's important to consider that there has been industrial activity on the Erie Coke site for 185 years. So this is a really important opportunity for Erie to think about what does the next 200 years look like for this site, for the waterfront, for Erie as a whole. So that's what this plan is designed to do. It's designed to really kind of reposition the waterfront area and this property in particular to support current and future needs. The planning process began in late 2024 with stakeholder meetings, and then continued with extensive public outreach as well as a lot of analysis, and then wrapped up just last month with the adoption of the plan by the Port Authority Board of Directors. Obviously, we can't totally see what's in the future. There's going to be unforeseen opportunities and challenges. We still are doing environmental testing. DEP is still on the ground there. So additional, questions and challenges will come to light. But the plan is really designed to just kind of create that framework and give us a path forward so that we can start the work of cleaning up and then eventually redeveloping the property. Moving on to the third page. So obviously the environmental challenges are at the top of everyone's mind. They are significant. We are so grateful to the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection for being our true partner and spending extensive resources and time understanding the nature of the environmental challenges there, which, as we're all familiar with, have impacted the neighborhoods around the site. It's just of utmost priority that we address those challenges as we continue and think about redevelopment. So the plan includes a summary of the results that DEP has found in their testing. And that work, again, continues. We anticipate that DEP will produce what they call a remediation alternatives analysis probably this year, which will help provide another layer of information and suggestions on how we move forward with cleanup. This plan helps them do that work because we're giving them information about what the community wants to see on that site. So it's a little bit of an iterative process, but the work is happening in tandem. Moving on to the next page, market and economic analyses. So the plan also takes a very close look at where we are with the Erie market and what is potential given current economic conditions on the site. There's an update to work that the port had done back in 2022 to revisit some understandings and assumptions based on shipping activity. There was a real estate demand analysis to understand what types of real estate are needed in different parts of Erie County based on growing industries. And then also there's a study of maritime activities, which hadn't really been done. And that study found that there's a $115 million generated annually by the fishing and boating industry here in the Erie region. So a lot of different pieces of that puzzle that are kind of combined in this document. The emphasis on the plan and the recommendations is not to identify one particular industry that would be a good fit for the site, but to really understand how the site might accommodate different types of industries, depending on where we're headed in Erie. And then also bringing in that community perspective. And then that community perspective, again, was so important to this process. So we had multiple levels of public outreach through the process. Many of you participated in those activities. Several hundred people involved throughout the planning work, either in person or online. We met at East Middle School, at ECAT, at the port office, at the Bayfront East Side Task Force. So we were kind of all over the place. And I will say that there wasn't necessarily one specific goal expressed by the community for the property, but there were themes that emerged. And those themes are discussed in detail in the planning document, as well as in the appendices. We have all of that input that is documented and attached to the plan. We heard very clearly a desire for open and natural spaces along the waterfront, opportunities for jobs, an increase to the tax base, and more waterfront recreation. So lots of different goals that I think we can kind of work together to fit in the property. And I will also say that this is not a one and done process. So a couple really important points here. Number one, we are continuing to collect feedback. There's a feedback link on our website. And then as we move forward with work, we certainly expect to be back out in the community, soliciting input and conversation as we move forward with different parts of the plan. And then finally, the Port Board of Directors adopted a statement of policy, which again is on our website, regarding presentations and proposals for the site. So if those proposals are made to the board, they are shared on our website, and again, the public can comment on those as they move forward. So ultimately, this document, it's a visioning document. It gives us some options on how the site might be developed over time, depending on market opportunities and on the environmental conditions as we continue to understand them. It kind of demonstrates the possibilities. So full build out in terms of jobs created just through construction could be anywhere from 1,000 to 1,800 jobs. A more conservative build out is estimated to result in nearly 1,000 on-site permanent jobs, which would yield $128 million in annual GDP and $13.2 million in combined federal, state, and local fiscal revenues. So this wouldn't happen all at once. There would be, phased development over time, but it just gives you a sense of why we're trying to create value on this property. It's so important for the future of Erie and supporting our economy here. And then there's different scenarios in terms of the development of open space. One of them, the more, I would say the more green version of this, projects 79 acres of green space. And that's just to give you a sense of scale, more than double the size of Frontier Park. And then lastly, the plan identifies more flexibility and opportunity for our port facilities, partners and tenants, with expanded marina and boat storage. So it is important that the site is on the water. You know, the plan reflects the fact that this is a waterfront property, and we need it to support port activities. So work is continuing, partnerships are continuing. We have been working very closely with the Erie County Redevelopment Authority on this journey. And again, DEP, as I mentioned. So that DEP report should be out this year. There's a $2 million federal allocation that is in the works, which will help us with some demolition of some of the structures that are on the site. And then we're just continuing to look for ways to connect the dots with other activities that are taking place in Erie and kind of just chip away at this project, because this is going to be a multi-decade journey probably for cleanup and eventual redevelopment, but we got to start. We got to start that work, and this plan is the first step toward it. And then finally, for more information, again, as I said, everything is on our website. We encourage you to take a look there, along with that public comment link and the statement of policy regarding presentations and proposals. And so that was my very quick review. Lots packed in, but if there are any questions, we're happy to respond.
You did a phenomenal job of just like, that was great. You did great. Does anybody have any questions? I know this was a lot, and we might need some time to digest. And as we get further into this, I think this would be a great study session for us eventually when we get to that point. So that way we can really dive into it and not have you speed read so quickly. So, but thank you.
I don't have any questions. I just wanted to make a comment. I loved seeing the updated plan. I know a lot of people have asked what the plans were with the Coke plant, and being right next to the East Ave boat launch. So they were, concerned and worried that maybe some other developer would come in, but I'm happy that it's going to continue to be public space, and I look forward to seeing the green space that's twice the size of Frontier Park, because that'll be great to use.
Just want to echo that sentiment. Just this is going to be a resource. I know this is a long vision that we have to have, but something that will be transformational for the East Side, and an investment that we've not seen. And so I am excited for that, and especially for a space where people can go enjoy our waterfront.
And we want to make sure, just to clarify that is one option that we do have on the table. So we're going to make sure the public is still involved every step of the way, the collaborating with the city, of course. But, we are not sure what the final steps will be. But again, as Anna mentioned, making sure the public is involved and we're working directly, with the mayor as well and you as council. It's all about the collaboration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's the part I'm most excited about, is that all stakeholders are being involved in any planning, as opposed to someone coming later and pontificating to them, as is often done. And so shout out to the Benedictines, Sister Pat Lupo,
For sure.
Issy Laurie, shout out to the Sisters of St. Joseph's and Erie United for all the advocacy work and all the other groups. And my mother told me not to start naming people because inevitably you'll leave someone out. Mm-hmm. But to all the other groups, stakeholders who cared enough to show up to some of the public outreach meetings. And thank you, Julie, you and Anna always, you never fail to present adequate presentations. And I know the money part of it is always taking care of it because they're concerned with it.
You know that, Councilman, no doubt.
You're not only for the work you're doing at the Port Authority on it, but for the work that you certainly did in our West Bay Fund. It was a privilege doing a lot of the phenomenal work or witnessing a lot of the phenomenal work that you do when I was over at the county as the second rep. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Titus, I just want to add, I really want to commend the port. This took an incredible amount of courage and fortitude for the port and the redevelopment authority to come together and act to, secure the site. and to do this on behalf, I think, of the citizens of Erie, that I was on the board of the port at that time, and it was not an easy decision. So I really want to commend the port and the redevelopment authority for that. And, the way that they've conducted themselves in the public, I think, is a model for others to follow. That, lots of community involvement, lots of checking back in, lots of ability to full transparency on websites with information. I think this is the way, particularly with a project of this magnitude. I think we really need to commend them and ask that other organizations and developments follow the lead that they've shown. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for securing federal and state dollars along the way, too. That's so important.
We have about 4 minutes before we head into our public meeting. Is there any other questions that we might want to ask? We do have a study session next week. It will not be canceled. It will be moving forward, and that is on our parks. So just remember, next Thursday we will have that. But if there are no other questions, then we can go ahead and pause caucus and get reset so we are ready for our public meeting. Thank you. if we could get roll call, please.
Roll call for the City Council meeting of Wednesday, June 3rd, 2026 at 9 a.m. Council President Titus.
Here.
Members Brzezinski, Flores, Horton.
Yes.
Pohl, Shaw, and True.
Present.
Thank you. At this time, we will stand for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilor Horton.
Motion to accept the minutes from the 5/20/26 City Council meeting and bills for payment on June 5th and 12th. Members Brzezinski. Flores.
Yes.
Horton. Pohl.
Yes.
Shaw. True.
Yes.
Titus.
Yes. Just for the public to have a quick rundown of what we're doing. We have a presentation this morning. We have public comment. There was some confusion, I think, about the way the agenda was written this time, so I just wanted to clarify. We have executive session written under public comment. That will not occur until after public comment has concluded. So there's not going to be any disruption to public comment. That is after, and that's related to the issues here that we have, and I'll go over this again, but it's real estate, property, and personnel. But at this point, I will go ahead and welcome up our presentation this morning from Sheila Silman, the advisor and volunteer for the reentry program.
Good morning, Council. My name is Bob Hess. I'm the current program manager for the Erie County Reentry Services and Support Alliance. This is Sheila Silman. She's the former ECRSSA director and a current volunteer. My goal today is to introduce our program to everybody up here. Ms. Silman will speak on some of the things that occurred prior to our program starting, and I will be happy to speak on everything about the program since we took it over on May 8th.
Okay.
So
and then I guess to provide also a little bit of more context. So this will just be a brief presentation, knowing that we were going to have further conversations that expand from this, just so council is also aware too. So we'll be receiving information here, but this is just kind of the beginning of a conversation for all of us. So sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Titus.
May I please introduce our staff that's here?
Yeah.
Okay, and we also have some of our advisory council that's here, and I'll just ask them to raise their hand. But if our staff would please stand. We have our case managers, Emily, Stacy, and Becky, and our client advocate, Craig. And then if our you guys can go ahead and sit, and if our advisory council members would please raise their hand. Great, very good. Thank you so very much. So we are so grateful, and thank you very much for the invitation. Do I just ask someone to move the slide, or do I have a clicker? Oh, right here it is. Thank you. Here you go. I'll let him do the work. So according to slide one, very good. At the time of when we were starting our program and doing the research, we do have evidence-based research. This is the foundation of this program. Approximately 1,250 people were returning to the community. And as you can see, according to this, 40.2% were rearrested in 3 years. Of that number, they were reincarcerated within 3 years, with an overall recidivism rate of 50% within 3 years. And we knew we had to do something, so we had a strategy development. And do you have handouts with you?
They were distributed to at least council in our emails.
You do?
So, yes.
Okay, very good. So in 2013, Erie Together led and convened a group of stakeholders to explore the creation of a county-wide reentry strategy. And it's for all three levels of the criminal justice system: federal, state, and local criminal justice officials. We're there to help provide. And we also have faith-based representatives and also definitely former offenders. That we identified former offender challenges and goals and essential elements. We looked at successful elements elsewhere, particularly in Lancaster, And we developed recommendations from that. We also had focus groups with former offenders so that we could sit down and actually hear what was their concerns, what their barriers were. The overarching recommendations that we came up with is we wanted to serve kind of like as a one-stop shop. Previously, what the community had is that the individual went here, went there, dropped a urine here, dropped a urine there, and we were trying to help minimize the amount of effort an individual coming back would have to do to access service. Provide a necessary case management towards this particular individual focused on reentry, make appropriate service referrals, and help address any barrier challenge these individuals had. We came up with this mission statement that we would provide the support and the services to what we termed transitioning clients through an intentional network of the community, faith-based organizations in partnership with the criminal justice system. This was meant to work alongside with the criminal justice system, not for them to overshadow us, not for them to hang over us in any way, shape, or form. Two things. The clients were individuals released from federal, state, county prison, re-entering into our county after serving a criminal conviction, and/or people re-entering a law-abiding life from a criminal network. Number two is referring to the group violence reduction strategy, once termed as the call-in, and now is referred to as a peacekeeping group. The challenges that we met to address, we identified these various areas that we thought were a priority. Address education barriers, transportation barriers, safe, stable, sustainable housing, access to employment, how to address the criminal record issues when especially going to find housing and a job, and creating a stable community that provides a positive and supportive environment. Pardon me, I'm trying to get this to flip. Program goals. First one was to reduce from 50%, get it lower, the recidivism rate. As I shared with you before, having been in this line of work my entire career, knowing how individuals, when they're incarcerated, lose housing, lose children, lose jobs, lose stability, and having to start all over again, that's one issue. The other issue is having to think about community safety, of course, but in addition to that, how does one start over again without that ongoing continued support? With a reentry program, having case managers and a peer support, a client advocate who has that lived experience to kind of help folks walk that journey and help them along the way. Access to adequate, appropriate support services via case management, help the individual prepare for and obtain living wage jobs, and help that person become independent, self-sufficient. The implementation was we had this one-stop shop created back in 2016, and we got it off the ground in September of 2016. And when the ECRSSA, or Erie County Reentry Services and Support Alliance, was created. With the support of the $1.2 million grant for 3 years from the foundation, the Erie Community Foundation and United Way, it was launched and it landed in GCAC. We're very grateful to them for housing it. What I do want to point out is at that time, the strategy included have an advisory council or board over it to help guide it on its way, to keep it within the fidelity of the model. GCAC and I and the advisory council, we all work together to get it off and keep it moving forward. The governance of the program is, like I said, is managed by the advisory council. We have since, and you see that plus there to the right of that, added a community council so that there's this back and forth conversation around what's going on in the community. A lot has changed in 10 years. We now have a community college. There's a lot more going on within the drug and alcohol field. There is also a lot more going on in the housing field. There was an 814 shelter when I first started. And now that's changed how people can access housing. There's also other programs going on, and so to have that ever-changing conversation so that we stay in touch, and also so that the community can stay in touch. And we actually had our first meeting with the Community Council last week. Program funding has been sustained through various grant funding at the local, state, and federal level since the implementation of the program. I have to tell you, when I was doing the program for those 4 years, it's a lot of work having to find funding. It takes a lot of your focus as a supervisor, as a worker, and a lot of energy. And it can be very unstabling to the program. The grant funding is not sustainable for long term either. You do a lot of work and apply for a lot of grants that never, ever get awarded. They end up going to the bigger cities. The primary goal has always been to achieve sustainability with county support. I have met with, who was then Kathy Dahlkemper, many times and discussed it with her, talked to her about it, and at that time the county wasn't able to do it. Discussions formalized in late '24, continued through '25 regarding the possible transition of the program to the county, as the program, as we understood, was running out of the money. And for 3 of the 5 positions at that time, the 3 of the 5 positions were in jeopardy of no longer having the ability to stay in place. Our concerns we addressed at an October 2025 meeting led by Erie Together, identified the concerns. I was at that meeting. There was a lack of fidelity to the model. ICM is intensive case management. RC is resource coordination. Resource coordination is a lower level of service. ICM is the higher level of service. And the lack of fidelity of the model means that we were not receiving the data necessary to track the recidivism, track how many people were receiving services for various entities, whether it's drug and alcohol, mental health, finding housing, finding jobs. We were getting information word of mouth, but you can't do data by word of mouth. And so therefore, we had the conversation. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
May I?
Yes.
Dr. Titus? Because it seems like that's the whole emphasis of the program. Everything I hear about here is best practices and data. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes. You said everything, you said it,
I said everything that I'm hearing around here about anything is best practices and data.
yes.
And so, would you say you're not giving? How long was this program going on without data?
How long has the program been going on?
Without data collection?
My understanding is since 2023,
I just want to make sure.
yes. Allow me to confirm. Am I wrong? No, I am correct.
And who's responsible for collecting that data?
The house of the program, which was the YMCA. Now, allow me to say,
This is all from 2016
yes.
to 2023?
Well, allow me to say this.
Please.
Okay, I want to be fair, and I want to be clear. The program transitioned from GCAC in '22 to the Y. At that time, they were utilizing the data collection that I had devised, which was simply a spreadsheet. We did not have a client data system where you could electronically go in and click, click, click the information in. It worked, though. The staff would go in and they would insert through numbering system how to insert the data, and it worked. I monitored it. I made sure they were doing what they were supposed to be doing.
For 1,000 clients?
Sir?
For 1,000 clients?
No. 1,000 clients is how many were coming back. No, we didn't have 1,000 clients. No, sir.
Because that would seem
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
you're being insane
Because
by
right
that.
off the bat,
No.
that just says that's not unsustainable. I mean, I don't.
Yeah. No,
mean to-
good question.
I don't
Absolutely
know.
not. That was who was coming back to the community when we started the research back in 2013. At the time, let me look.
So JCAC didn't collect data prior to the Y?
GCAC did collect data prior to the Y. I was the one.
Under the system that you were doing?
Under the system I devised, correct.
Yeah, with the spreadsheet.
The spreadsheet. That spreadsheet followed to the Y. It fell apart when program managers shifted. After I left, a program manager was hired. That program manager left, and then another program manager was hired, and I was asked to come back and go in November of 23, to help train. I did about 3 weeks to maybe a month of training, but did not get to the point of being able to do that part of the training. They did not pick up any of the data and move forward with it from that point on.
How do you propose, is the same system that you used aforementioned before? Is JCAC going to be the same data collecting system that you're going to do now?
Well, what they did is they ended up purchasing a client electronic system, but the data was not being uploaded into the system.
I don't want to hinder conversation. I think that what I'm seeing there very quickly is that this is probably needs to be a study session where we could pull in for more conversation, more in depth.
Sounds good.
So if let's go through this and then let's get something scheduled so that we can have time to collect, and then that way we can come up with more questions too.
I don't have a problem doing that, but the problem that I would have with doing that is interruption of services.
Thank you.
And I don't know, because from where I'm sitting now, we don't have anything.
No, we do.
Okay.
We do. Yeah,
Okay.
that is not the case.
And then
what we have now is the flip over from the different, the reprogramming from our perspective.
Yes.
Of the CDBG funds of the city's portion.
Yes.
And so, okay.
Yes. We are in service. The program never ended. The Y stopped serving May 8th. He was hired April 21st, and actually there was that transition. We actually had people coming up to him I'll let him speak to that, during that time. New staff has been hired. And do you want me to continue with this? Or would you like to get to him?
I'd like to go through the presentation.
I'm sorry.
No, you're okay. No, you're okay. Just to kind of keep us on track, because I do think that there's a lot of information. So if we could get through that overview, it'll give us a better indication of what we need to bring up in a more thorough study session.
Okay. I'm happy to answer more detailed questions at another time if you want it.
No, I apologize for taking you off track.
Okay.
I'm just kind of slow like that sometimes.
You're not slow. They're good questions. Yeah. Okay, so I'll go to no data to support reduction in recidivism, connections to services, or client success. Lack of communication with partners. Stakeholders identified no longer making referrals to the program due to various issues. And part of that was, part of the goal of our program is to do pre-entry. In other words, go into the institutions prior, meet the individual, and come out. There was an issue around that. Data was not being submitted for evaluation while a new data system was put in place. Here we go, July of 25. Data was not provided until September of 25 was incomplete. Of the data that was submitted, less than 7% of referrals were coming from jails and prisons, meaning no pre-entry services. Needs identified among clients were low, did not align with growing needs expressed by community stakeholders. The program was identifying less than 9% of clients having substance misuse issues, less than 12% having mental health issues. I want to just kind of say this real quick. We have percentages here, but whenever you look at data, you also want to have numbers, and we, during those detailed meetings, can provide actual numbers. Clients were marked as closure as successful in the program, but receiving less than 30 days of service, and in some cases, same day open and closure. That's really I don't know what that means. Did the person just come in and get a bus pass? Did the person just come in and get access to one thing? Generally, that's not case management. I don't know what that means. Transition. Transition to the program to the county was coordinated by the Advisory Council, the YMC, and the YMC administration started in January. The YMCA utilized local grant funds to maintain the full program until May 8th, giving the county time to get the program up and running to avoid disruption in service to clients. Existing staff were strongly encouraged to apply for the positions through the county. One applied, but withdrew the application. I'm going to let Bob speak to the current program status. At the end of this, if it's okay, we're going to have two people who are currently working in the program share with you how they feel about it.
So we're already at 9:30. We typically do like 15 minutes of presentation for these. I want to hear, but like if we could just kind of get it a little bit more brief.
Okay.
So thank you.
Okay, you tell us what you
That way I don't want to cut anybody off and not take away a platform, but I also want to make sure we get into the public comment and keep us on track.
We'll cut out the last two slides. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's fine. So current program status, we're at the same location, 1631 Sassafras Street, same phone number since January 2025. We're centrally located on a bus line, which gives people access to our building and facility. The program, as we mentioned before, is fully staffed now with myself, 3 caseworkers, and a client advocate. And the majority of our staff do have lived experience. So since I've been there in the last 30 days with my transition, some of the things that I've accomplished is we've reconnected and reestablished with certain entities in Erie, such as CareerLink, Erie County Drug and Alcohol, Pyramid Healthcare, UPMC Safe Harbor, GCAC, Community Health Net, the Veteran Hospital, and there's more to that. Erie County Drug and Alcohol and CareerLink have staffing in our office 1 time per week. That's pursuant to our one-stop shop model. We want to have everybody that is interested in being in our building there, so it's easy for our clients to maintain services from them. We've also made connections with employers beyond TEP agencies. I met with WavePoint, McCarty Printing, and Don John. They were absolutely willing to take reentry clients, so we don't always have to use a temp agency. This will be a better opportunity for those clients. And we actually added 2 more employers last week. Diaz Spring Service and Erie Plating Company are also interested in helping us as well. I've also reestablished our relationship with SCI Albion, the PA Community Corrections Center, Erie County Prison, and Federal Probation. We went over our referral process and really started to set up our pre-entry processes, which is really important to our program. ECRSSA and adult probation. The county funding for the ECRSSA is in the budget under Erie County Adult Probation Department. The ECRSSA is not being run by adult probation. We are completely separate entities and have different purposes and completely separate staff. There's no probation officers that are employed in the reentry program. We do have a memorandum of understanding that is formally in place that outlines the expectations and confidentiality around information sharing between the 2 entities to protect clients' rights to privacy and to ensure the ECRSSA maintains its purpose of connecting individuals with the support that they need. So we will not share that information with their probation officer unless they want us to. Our delivery model, the caseworker does not just provide referral phone numbers. They open the door, initiate the phone call, make the introduction, accompany clients, clear the barriers for individuals to connect directly with resources. Our caseworkers also have the ability to meet the client in the community if they are not comfortable coming into our building. Again, our goal for caseworkers is to meet the clients prior to them being released in the community. And the point of that is just to optimize, plan and optimize individual success during that transition. As we know, the greatest risk for recidivism is within the first year of release. So our goal really is to see these people 30 to 60 days prior to them getting to the streets. I know yesterday, real quickly, I was at SCI Albion. There is somebody who was incarcerated for 20 years who maxes out a sentence, and he is returning back to Erie shortly. So what our goal is right now is to have services ready for when he comes to Erie so he has some support. You want to speak on this part?
These are just how it looks to have the person surrounded to help get them out. Client advocate, a community mentor, the caseworker. Go ahead, get to the next one for the sake of time. These are services around it. IS is intensive support. The other one is the SS does supportive services. And then the kind of things that we can get around to them. Go ahead. And then just transforming lives through the program. I mean, we've been doing this since 2016. And just let me say just real quick, when it went to the Y, that was the goal as well. The issue is it got off the fidelity of the model. Allow us, if we can, to bring up two people who are working here. Craig, you want to come up, please? He's our client advocate. Wouldn't mind share your thoughts on why you decided to apply and want to work.
I decided to come to the program because of a lot of individuals in the community. I'm a barber for one, so I run into a lot of individuals that are recently released. They know that I have had issues years ago, so they watch me navigate, and they just want to know what I did and to navigate and to make it to where I am now. And I share those experiences with them, and that seems to help. None of them seem to care about who's over the program or the politics involved with it. That doesn't matter. Do the resources work? Are they there? Help me navigate through them, and that's what I do. I'm a client advocate, and that's what I do. I advocate on behalf of the transitioning clients, the men returning home. All the other stuff, I leave it to the people who it's their job to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have one of our caseworkers too, if you mind.
Hi, my name is Becky. I'm a caseworker with the reentry program. I went to the reentry program because I was working as a certified recovery specialist because I have my own lived experience in addiction and mental health and starting my life over from absolutely nothing, losing my kids and trying to come back. I was not incarcerated, but my father and my uncle were for most of my life, and I know that if they would have had someone like me, they might have been there a little bit more. You know what I mean? They were good people who were very institutionalized and didn't know how to re-enter society and live. That's my purpose. I just want to help other people do that and not feel alone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If anybody has any other questions for myself or any of my staff, please.
Just a quick comment. I'd like to know who the community members are. I'd like to know who the community members are on the community advisory board. And just through my notice, when you introduced the main advisory board, some of the people that I know and respect, have the utmost of respect for, but I didn't see a defense attorney or criminal defense or someone from public defender's office, and I just always thought it'd be nice to have some type of balance.
Bob Oliver is on our community advisory board. From the public defender's office. And we had a, can I have that thing?
You don't have to go.
You don't want it now?
I just wanted to make that
Yep, Bob Oliver's on
comment,
there. We
because
have,
I didn't notice it in the introduction.
yeah, it's in the, no, he's not here today, but it is in the PowerPoint. We also have Scott Konauer from DNA, Lana Reese from DHS. We also have Brian Johansson from City Mission, Jenny Haggerty from Mercy Center for Women. I'm trying to think who all was there. We have the ICU there.
If you just, if it's in the document that you sent us, that would be fine. I'm not trying to hold your toes to the line.
Well, we have.
Or you could just forward it to our clerk, Ms.
We actually,
Gary Watson.
we're glad to do that.
And then I'll have our clerk reach out too to like get something scheduled. We'll match calendars, and that way we won't feel so rushed, and we can sit down and have just a longer dialogue.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Appreciate the questions.
Thank you all for coming to. Bob and Beth is good senior, and Marriott is good senior too.
Okay. So this will move us into the request for repository sales. Is anybody here for a repository sale? Is anyone here for a repository sale? Is anyone here for a repository sale? All right, this will move us into the public comment section. We do have the sign-up list. Make sure that you are signing in, and then when you're coming up to the podium, you're please listening for the timer, so you have 5 minutes, and state your name and your municipality for the record, so that we can clearly hear and follow up. Go ahead.
Elizabeth Stanton, Harbor Creek. This past week, I had the privilege of being in the presence of statespeople. I want to express my gratitude for their generosity of gifting their ample time, coming with openness to listen to the concerns expressed, and their thorough explanation for the positions they set forth. I would like to lay out some of the more basic differences between a politician and a statesperson. A politician's focus is to win elections, public approval, and partisan support, whereas a statesperson's focus is the long-term welfare of their constituents and future generations. A politician's philosophy tends to adapt policies based on the shifting public sentiment, whereas a statesperson's philosophy is grounded in principles and deep wisdom. A politician prioritizes compromise for immediate gain of power and political loyalty, whereas a statesperson is willing to make unpopular decisions, even sacrifice their career for the greater good. A politician is often associated with self-interests and short-term goals, whereas a statesperson is often viewed with respect as a figure above the petty party divides. Dr. Titus, as president of Erie County Council, Erie City Council, I would like to commend you as a role model of plain talk, clear communication that gets directly to the point, avoiding confusing jargon, unnecessary fillers, and overly complex phrasing so that an audience can easily understand the first time they hear or read your message. I commend you for straight talk. Plain, honest, direct communication without a hidden agenda. I commend you for power sharing, decision-making designed to prevent concentration of power in a single entity and which promotes inclusivity. I commend you for ethical transparency, openly sharing truth and relevant information about the decision processes and actions. I commend you for moral integrity, consistent and unwavering alignment of your actions and your principles and values, doing the right thing when no one is watching, particularly when it requires sacrifice and courage. Thank you, Dr. Titus, for your statesperson's leadership. Thank you.
Hello. Excuse me. My name is Julia Jacobs, and I'm a resident of the East Side. I am back to address the mayor's behaviors that I briefly addressed last meeting. And for starters, I want to confidently assure that I am approaching this matter with the utmost empathy for all parties involved. However, I believe the unprofessionalism I witnessed is symbolic, an ideal demonstration of a much broader issue that many, including myself, feel uncomfortable confronting head-on. I speak as somebody who's spent considerable time and energy reflecting on my own cognitive bias, unlearning stereotypes I've been taught from an early age, and deconstructing prejudice attitudes I was conditioned to hold. It's silly to assume that my goal for those of us guilty of ignorance is to hide and shame ourselves. Shame is scientifically not productive. My intention is not to cast shame, but rather to advocate for the residents who have been continuously shamed and ignored. Constituents' demands for accountability are not equivalent to aggression. These are the uncomfortable conversations you campaigned on confronting with care and integrity. I appreciate Dr. Titus's mention that events which we as community want government officials to attend should be forwarded to clerk for easier distribution of info. However, I'm not here because of a single incident lacking professionalism. I'm unfortunately standing up here because Mayor Devlin demonstrated a clear and confident lack of regard for constituents' grievances. I constantly consider the complexities of her job, but I must also acknowledge how little attention I feel she's paid thus far to some of our most vulnerable populations. In your walk and talk video celebrating your first 100 days in office, you reiterated your administration's focus of, quote, making sure you are heard and that city government is working for you. But who is the you that you've been making sure is heard? Who are you ensuring that city government is working for? You claimed you sat down with hundreds of residents to hear concerns related to housing, youth, and business development. I'd like to know what portion of those residents live on the east side. When you reflect on your first 100 days, do you evaluate whether you adequately represented the entire city or only the most profitable and politically active regions? How many unhoused individuals have you heard from? How many parents and youth of the Erie Public Schools have you connected with about concerns? Have you engaged with any of the student body or administration of the community college? It should be noted that the majority of the students there are from the east side. These are actionable ideas that we as constituents shouldn't have to come up with for you. We elected you based on promises that you would justly initiate this work to represent our best interests. When a longtime Erie resident has repeatedly requested for voices of some of the city's most economically disadvantaged citizens to be heard, you responded by dismissing him and then proceeded to make poor and unprofessional excuses for your lack of engagement. That response is far from an accountable one. According to research, your response is an example of defensive bolstering, a coping strategy used in response to being held accountable where the individual resorts to rationalizing past behaviors and self-justifying. Choosing the most effective coping skill, which should aim to understand, shift perspective, and subscribe to the forum's view, is only invested in by individuals when they feel it is required of them. I'm here to ensure you feel required to make real improvements in providing the whole city with transparency, accountability, and fair representation. Although we were not in the room to hear, I do appreciate that you took a moment to acknowledge your inappropriate behavior, though I would not consider your remarks an apology. It's a poor excuse to claim you were, quote, distracted, when realistically, you were observed being consciously disrespectful via nonverbal communication. Your demeanor changed the instant I walked up to this podium. You leaned into the desk with your body facing me, held eye contact so long that I became uncomfortable, and immediately expressed a desire to understand my points. Only a minute prior, you were just as alert and expressive, but in a way that showed you did not like what Mr. Cooley had to say. You demonstrated that you had it in you that day, that hour, to be respectful in the face of criticism. It's now your sole responsibility to reflect and deconstruct the internal bias that made you so confidently preserve double standards like those. For you to acknowledge your behavior as anything less than disrespectful is for you to dodge accountability on the matter. According to the University of Texas, the 55-38-7 formula describes how much of communication is nonverbal. 55% of communication is attributed to body language. That's more than half. 38% is attributed to the tone of voice, and only 7% is attributed to the actual spoken words. This is just to demonstrate the importance of nonverbal communication, especially if your direct verbal communication is subpar. I can only imagine the nonverbal and outright disrespect you're willing to disrespect to vulnerable voices in private, behind closed doors, when you're not being carefully observed by concerned community members like myself. As I told County Council last night, an apology without changed behavior is manipulation, and we will not be manipulated forever.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. I have signed in previously. My name is Gary Kronachik. I'm a long-term resident of the city of Erie, and sort of have a few comments about rental registration. None of the details. What I wanted to say to the mayor and to you is that we like the way things are going. The mayor, met with you at CPAC on the 9th of August. She came to an apartment association meeting a few weeks ago, provided an update. And I think there's true communication, and I think there's great opportunity for collaboration so that as we move forward, it's a product that there's neither a room full of people objecting or a legal process, which none of us benefit from. So I want to commend the mayor for beginning the process of communication, and look forward to collaborating with the members of the board of the Apartment Association, of which there are 1,150, by the way. They're meaningful, and the stereotype of the negative landlord is accurate in a very minor portion of the rental ownership of apartment association member. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Council, Madam Mayor. I sat through that presentation this morning and was disgusted. Her name? Michelle Doveshaw, Erie, PA. The stuff they gave was from 2016, 10 years ago, a decade ago. Mr. Horton, you're always talking about the 10 years on taxes. That's a whole generation to 5th grade, right? The program that was at the Y, there's a lot going on saying that supposedly people were doing bad things. That's what we've been hearing, right? I call BS on all of it. Because this advisory board that you have, I put in for an open request because it now belongs to Erie County, right? So it would follow right to nose. Haven't heard back yet. But when they mentioned the people that were on it, we're talking about an enormity of advisory board, but an advisory board is just to give advice. They have no power. So why are certain people on that advisory board moving and shaking and moved this program? I have been approached by multiple people that one of these people, Amy Eisert, has had meetings with people and have asked them to get us to be quiet. When somebody asks me to be quiet, it makes me speak louder. Because most of these people don't know what is going to happen. That program that was running with their recidivism rate is unstoppable. Mr. Alan Brown right there, somebody during the presentation said, oh, there was a person from Albion with 20 years? 47 years? 47 years of incarceration. Came out and he was the lead on it, right? But, oh, I'm sorry, he wasn't allowed to apply. Because how many felons do you know work for the probation office? They can't say they can keep it separate. In 10 years, in a decade of program changes, we've been hearing a whole lot about lack of fidelity. The statistics were being turned in, but they weren't being turned in to Mercyhurst, and that's the problem. We were paying Mercyhurst for 16 hours a month at $85 an hour. For the statistics in these HIPAA-protected information to be handed to students. Now, I don't know about you, but if I have something wrong with me that I don't want everybody knowing, that kind of sounds bad to me. I am sick and tired of people in this city doing what they want for the almighty dollar. I'm sick of it. That program, recidivism rate, was astronomical. The people that they had in there was astronomical, and they loved what they did. But you cannot put re-entry under probation. Probation is corrective. It's mandatory. Re-entry is voluntary. The majority of the people that were in the program told their caseworkers before it closed, yeah, there was a break. There was a break. That they wouldn't go to probation. How are you supposed to go in there and feel comfortable when right through that door right there is somebody that can say you're going back to prison? Sorry, you slipped up. I worked in recovery, drug and alcohol. I've worked at Harbor Creek Youth Services. I have seen it. But to allow this to continue, I couldn't be at county council last night, but we are formally petitioning them to rescind it and pull it back. And I am asking you not to hand over no money until they correct this program that they stole. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Michael Keys, Erie, Pennsylvania. Couple topics now, real quick. One, it is my hope that the new reentry program is successful, but I will say that the statistics that they showed about half the people going back to prison or going back to jail, those are their statistics. Those are the county statistics who already manages probation and parole in our community. Those are their statistics where half the people are failing. And now we put this program under the umbrella of a program where half the people are failing and we're supposed to get better results. And the data that I hear, which I can't confirm, say that the recidivism rate was like 1/4 of what it is in the county in this program. And so that's why this program was so critical. I took some time while I was in the audience to look up Erie Together. I viewed a room of 27 white people. Okay. According to the last client advocate, up to 75% of these people we are dealing with come from a acculturated background. And so it's not just about the program, it's whether the people you have hired are culturally competent to manage the people that they're supposed to manage. And I have to say, probably not. And I don't know you. But we do know that representation matters. There's studies that if a black kid has a black teacher, he's 60 times more likely to graduate from high school. So if you say that it's transferable, that if you have people who look like you, trying to help you, working with you, not just at the client level, but at the case management level, you're going to do a better job. It's going to be more successful. And what I do object to is where we can get a room where there's 26 white people who claim that they represent this city and decide that they want to make policy for people who don't even look like them. It's sad. But one of the other reasons I come here was to talk about the marketplace. If it's not going to be a go, you know, I was in contact with the former Erie Events director back when he was still there, and we were talking about rebuilding the Roger Young Park. Little known trivia, Casey Wells' first job after college was being the director of the Roger Young Park in Poole. And we talked about how if we built it up, that the Erie Events could take over managing it. And it was just initial conversations, and it didn't go very far because the last administration were not sold out on the idea of upgrading that. But I say if the if the market house is not going in, maybe something acceptable would be a recreational and sports facility on the east side at the Roger Young, someplace that will get in something for the actual people. And I think that was the biggest thing for the people, was that they didn't feel like how this market house was any help or any assistance to them. And so I would ask the mayor to look into that possibility, that if the money's not going to be used there, that we can build a sports and recreational complex that rivals those that we can find outside our cities, and our kids don't have to drive or bus themselves in order to take part in those amenities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Jennifer Kennedy, city resident. Here to speak on behalf of ECR SSA, which has served hundreds of people last year, helping returning citizens find employment, housing, mentoring, healthcare, and community support, built on the belief that people are more than the worst mistake they've ever made. And that's why so many of us are struggling to understand this decision. Before dismantling a program that served hundreds of Erie residents, where is the public evidence that the replacement would do any better? So thank you very much for having a deeper study done, calling for that. And please don't fund it until we have all the facts, because their side is missing a lot of facts as well. If ECR SSA is helping people find jobs, which they are, find housing, reconnect with their families, and stay out of jail, why are we replacing a proven community-based model without showing the public the data? What problem is being solved by moving it? Because from where many of us sit, Erie already has enough problems that are not receiving the attention they deserve. Families on the east and the west sides are struggling to find safe and affordable housing. Many residents still feel unheard when they raise concerns about racial inequities and unequal investment in their neighborhoods. People want to see resources flowing into communities that have been overlooked for far too long. I want to see that. I'm an East Side dweller as well. I want to see resources being equally distributed in our city. This decision sends the wrong message at the wrong time. Instead of strengthening a program that helps stabilize families and neighborhoods, we are risking the loss of a community-led approach that has earned trust. And trust matters, especially in communities where trust in government has already been strained. Government can supervise people, but communities change people. Mentors and employees change people. Faith leaders, neighbors, and community organizations change people, not government. Government can administer programs, but communities change lives. If we lose the community's trust and ownership of this work, we risk losing the very ingredient that made it successful in the first place. One of the principles behind reentry is that people deserve a second chance when they make a mistake. We ask our returning citizens to learn, grow, and do better. Today, I'm asking the same of our government. This decision was made in error. The public was not fully heard. The long-term consequences were not fully considered. We are willing to give the powers that be a second chance to fix this mistake. Real leadership is not refusing to change course. Real leadership is having the courage to admit when a better path exists and to take that better path. I urge you today to use whatever influence and authority you have to ask the hard questions, demand transparency, and fight to preserve what is working. Because safe neighborhoods, stronger families, housing stabilities, racial equity, and successful reentry are not separate issues. They're all together. They're all connected. And we deserve solutions that bring people together, not decisions that move us further apart. Thank you.
Thank you.
Martha Wachuku, City of Erie. Good morning, Council. Good morning, Mayor. I'm here to talk about housing like I always do, but I typically talk about the renter housing crisis. But during the last 2 years that I've been going out into the community and trying to collect stories, as much as I'm hearing a lot of crisis in the renter housing market, there is a housing crisis among homeowners. And what I'm finding is that my people, Black people, are often being targeted. They're losing their homes. They're not getting support repairing their homes. And right now, there's a person who was at council maybe 1 or 2 months ago who came here. Her mom passed down a house, but because the house fell into disrepair, she's finding a hard time on her fixed income, limited income to repair the house. And she and her daughter were kicked out of an apartment last month, and she is currently living in a shelter, although she has a house that she owns and just needs support getting it repaired. I'm here preceding the next speaker because racism, no matter what topic comes up here at the podium, whether it's reentry, housing, education, it is a crisis in our city. Black people are being forgotten, and whether it is intentional and explicit racism where we're being targeted and harm is intentionally done to us, what also often is happening in the city is that there's neglect, and that neglect impacts us. It causes private pain and suffering that we're expected to take on our own. And so I've asked the next speaker to come out and make their private pain public, hoping that you as council or you as the mayor or the broader community hears what happened to them and can provide support and find some way to create some resolution, because it is not right for homeowners to have their property taken away and be put into the terrible housing, the renter housing market that we have that is limited and expensive. So with that, I'll allow the next speaker to come up.
Morning, Council, Madam Mayor. My name is John Coker. Just one moment, please. Sorry, this is my first time doing this, so I'm kind of nervous. Okay, I have prepared a statement that I would like to share with all of you today. Good morning, members of City Council. My name is John Coker, and I'm a lifelong resident of Erie, Pennsylvania, as are my parents, Gina Foster Coker and the late Kenneth Coker. I'm coming before you today on behalf of myself, my mother, who could not be here today, and my late grandparents, John and Gwendolyn Hardin Foster. I'm here to share a difficult situation that my family has been facing for the past year and a half. My grandparents purchased their home at 321 East 6th Street in 1981. Their home was completely paid off and had been in our family ever since. And it has, it has been one of the only 2 homes that I've ever lived in. In the late summer of 2024, we received a green notice stating that there was a property tax balance of approximately $1,800 that was due on September 30th. Wanting to make sure everything was handled correctly, we contacted the tax office and confirmed that this was the amount that was owed. We paid the balance in full on September 26th and received confirmation that the payment had been processed. Then, during the first week of October, we received a certified letter from the tax office informing us that the property had been auctioned off due to an unpaid balance of $800. Needless to say, we were shocked and confused. We made multiple trips to the courthouse, multiple trips and phone calls to the courthouse, and were sent back and forth between different offices seeking answers. We were informed that there was a limited time period in which the sale could be contested. However, there was another complication. The property was not in my mother's name. It belonged to my grandparents, John and Gwendolyn Foster. My mother also did not have power of attorney and therefore did not have the legal authority to challenge the sale herself. The responsibility to fight the case would have fallen upon my grandfather, who was still of sound mind, John Foster. Unfortunately, at that same exact time, my grandfather suffered a severe heart attack at the age of 90 years old. In November 2024, he was hospitalized and eventually passed away in January of 2025. Through the generosity of our neighbor across the street, we were loaned $3,000 to retain an attorney. We consulted with lawyers and believed we had found a law firm willing to take our case. However, we later discovered that the individual who purchased the property at the tax sale was also being represented by that same law firm. Because of that conflict of interest, they were forced to withdraw from representing us. Even if they had remained on the case, our financial circumstances made things extremely difficult. My mother had been laid off from work and I was unemployed at the time. The costs associated with a prolonged legal battle were simply beyond our means. At one point, we attended a court hearing seeking an extension of a grace period on the hopes of buying more time to resolve the situation. The circumstances surrounding the case were so unusual that the gentleman briefing the judge on the matters before the court remarked something to the effect of, quote, "Your Honor, in all my years of doing this, I have never seen so many people here for such reasons," end quote. Between the difficulty of securing legal representation, our financial hardships, countless trips to the courthouse, my grandfather's declining health and eventual passing, we did not have the resources or ability to continue fighting the case, and we were left with no other option but to let the house go. Where am I? After the sale, we were able to work out a lease agreement with the purchaser of the house so that we could remain in our home. However, the lease is up at the end of this month, June 2026. Today, my mother and I face the very real possibility of not only losing the home that we have lived in, but the home that has been in our family for 45 years. I share this story not only because of what happened to me and my family, but because I believe that no family should have to endure the loss of a longtime family home under circumstances like these. We did what we believed we were supposed to do. We paid the amount we were told that was owed. We sought legal counsel. We spent countless hours trying to navigate a complicated process while simultaneously caring for a dying family member. Yet, despite these efforts, a fully paid off home that had been in our family for nearly half a century was lost. Council, I am not here today to seek sympathy. I am here because I believe that our story deserves to be heard, and I hope that it can bring awareness to how difficult and overwhelming these situations can be for ordinary families. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Deontay Cooley, lifelong Erie resident. I got a couple of different things to say. As far as like the reentry thing, like we literally just sat here for half an hour longer watching a presentation about reentry. This is not the first time it's been a thing. It's been a thing at the county council meetings, city council meetings, so on and so forth. From what I'm hearing, the program is still existing. But even like what blows my mind, what really truly blows my mind is when we're advocating for helping people, and we're talking about the population that Where are the people? Where are the people who are receiving these services and the reenters? We don't know if this program is beneficial. We don't know if this program is not beneficial, because what we are not hearing from is the people who are actually receiving these services. While we're not hearing from these people, we're taking up time, we're using resources to where our city council building is turning into a courthouse. To where it's like, okay, now we're asking questions and we're trying to figure out all of these things. And what I'm seeing is, guess pretty much from what I'm hearing is they're saying the program is still running. They're bringing people saying we're running the program. They brought, Craig is a brother. This is my brother. I know his story. So, you know, when you talk about having people advocate for these things and people who are actually from those backgrounds, I believe that that has been proven. On the flip side, I'm not seeing anybody who is saying, yes, we need these services, or yes, I've completed this program, or yes, I've graduated from this program. This is such a great program. And it's like, where's all of this concern coming from? It's only coming because an event was held at Mercyhurst University, and now it's like, oh, this is a popular thing. Because we haven't been hearing about the Community Review Board anymore. People aren't talking about that anymore. People aren't talking about the body cameras anymore. It seems like every single time that there's a trending subject and there's something that's popular on social media, we feed into it. And then what I'm also noticing is our local government is feeding into some of the Facebook stuff or the social media stuff because we want to save face. But again, I would ask the people who are advocating legitimately, where are the people that you are speaking for? Like, there has not been anybody who said, well, when I got out of jail, the ECRSSA has done these things for me. There's nobody that said, since this program has got shut down, my life has been horrible. So it's like, we're just arguing, we're fighting, and we're screaming, but there are legitimate, real concerns going on in our city. Because again, I speak for the betterment of black people. And when you think about, we've had public meetings about ECRSSA, public meetings about the Market House, public meetings about hotels. But again, Michael Keys came up here and spoke about the Roger Young Park. Can we have a public meeting about the Roger Young Park? Can we have a public meeting about the East Side? Can we talk about some of the investments that are going to come there? Because I see Ryan Bizzarro I don't need no claps because I want to be able to go. I see Ryan Bizzarro just invested some money in the downtown Erie. Can we get an investment on the East Side? Can we get some investments in our community centers? You guys toured the community centers. I remember the one summer when Ms. Flores was the president, and she was gracious enough to host council meetings at those community centers. But in the process of us going to those community centers, we see the conditions of those community centers. I grew up attending those community centers, eating from the free lunch in the park. I learned how to play tennis from being a participant in Holy Trinity at the Columbus Park. But again, we're not thinking about this stuff. Spoons Court, the court is perfect. You look at McKinley Park, it's cracks all in the sidewalk. I mean, you can't play basketball there. There's no tennis nets. The Roger Young is a mess, and those are places that we frequent on the east side. If you look at Broad Street, all of those, there's a whole business district of stuff that's just shut down. And there seems to be no concern for where poor people are living, where black people are living. And another thing, it bothers me to see that there are black people on this council, and we're only hearing from one who are speaking for black concerns. And yes, I'm calling you out, sir, because it comes a point in time to where you're taking up a seat and you're not advocating for our people in our community, and you are us, bro. You are from where we come from. You frequented these places, but we don't hear you up here. We don't hear you in caucus, and I'm glad that Mr. Horton is here because the statement that he made, we know the Market House is going to come. The $9 million, absolutely, nobody's going to turn that down. They're going to be able to have the appeal and turn. But again, what he said was, what about us on the east side? What about black people who are fighting and crying? A man was shot and killed at his girlfriend's house. So again, I have history working in prisons, history working with people in reentry. That is not a major concern of mine right now. My concern is the east side of Erie, the lack of investments in our community centers, the lack of investment in our people. But what we'll do is we will have these study workshops in these sessions to try to talk to people and ask them questions for free. But then when we want solutions, we'll pay these consulting agencies to come into our city and figure out the problems. So why can't we invest in the people who actually live here, who see the problems, who are solving the problems? Why can't we get 30 minutes in this room with slideshows and all of that and your full attention? Why can't public comments be stopped about black, poor people who want to thrive and who want to survive in our city? All of us aren't criminals. All of us aren't bad people. There are successful, educated black people, and I'm tired of seeing public meetings and people coming down here screaming. When Gary comes down here with his, and I'm going to go over my father. When Gary comes down here, he brings a whole new American community. When the apartment association comes down here, they bring their landlords. When Marty comes down here for the unhoused community, she brings people. I don't see the re-entrance that you guys are talking about, but y'all down here screaming, wasting people's time while poor black people are continuously being poor, and you guys' attention are being taken away from issues on the east side because we are crying and complaining about people who aren't even coming to speak up for themselves. They brought their support. Bring yours, or please stop wasting our time. Let's help poor black people.
Thank you.
Good
morning. I'm Mary Beulah, and I'm the Executive Director of Erie Together. And I wasn't planning to speak today, but there are just a couple points I wanted to make in relationship to some of the things I heard today. Obviously, speaking about reentry, the first thing I wanted to tell you is that when we developed the reentry strategy back starting in 2013, we worked with a group of between 30 and 40 people over the course of 3 years to develop that strategy. That group that we worked with was very diverse in terms of their backgrounds, and their experience was very diverse in terms of the racial and ethnic composition, and it was representative of people who had lived experience and also had the expertise that was needed to help us understand what the real challenges were. So that was a 3-year process. We met every month. Sometimes we met every other month, but it was a lot of work from a lot of people. It wasn't just a bunch of white people sitting around a room trying to figure out if we knew what the issues were. It was not like that. It was very, very diverse. The second thing I wanted to mention is that when we talk about lack of fidelity to the model we're talking about is the strategy that was developed by the group of experts and people with lived experience, because we did a series of focus groups with them as well. What we learned through recent activity in the program was that job placement was very important, and there was a lot of effort being placed on job placement, but the other issues that were identified through the creation of this strategy were not being addressed as specifically and with as much importance. So things like access to education, access to transportation, access to safe, stable, sustainable housing, access to a supportive community, those kinds of things that everyone in the room said were very paramount to the success of people returning back to the community were not receiving as much focus. So when we talk about lack of fidelity to the model, we're not just talking about not receiving data, we're talking about those kinds of things were not being addressed. Additionally, we also recognize that there were different levels of service that were important to people coming back to the community, whether that be intensive case management for those people who were medium to high recidivism risk versus resource coordination for those who were lower recidivism risk. That was not being followed either. So we had some real concerns about how that program was progressing in the most recent years. And then when you couple that with the fact that we weren't receiving the data we needed, we couldn't tell what the impact was, right? We knew where there were job placements, but what about the rest of it? It is a holistic approach that we needed to be following, and we weren't seeing that. When we transitioned the program over to the county, that gives us the benefit of having a stable situation financially, because we're chasing grant money for years. Very hard to do that. When you can't find the funding to support the services, you can't serve the clients, right? So when the program transitioned over to the county, I just wanted to note, this was a discussion that was happening in tandem with the YMCA for us to move this over. We coordinated that move with them. And what that did is it gives us the stability, but it also gives us the opportunity to make sure that we get back to that original model, which all of the experts and all of the people with lived experience said was important in terms of ensuring the success of people coming back. And we will have the opportunity now to collect the data that we need to determine if we're making an impact or whether we need to make changes. So thank you for having me. I'll sign in now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. It's nice to see you all again. We need you.
Could you just state your name?
I'm sorry, Mimi O'Connor, City of Erie. We need you, and we need our deeper understanding, and I appreciate that you have already said that you will go deeply into this issue regarding ECRSSA. What is happening there? To my knowledge, ECRSSA has a terrific track record of success, reducing recidivism, strengthening families, connecting individuals returning from incarceration with highly effective community-based support services, to just as a short list. Data is important. Budgets are important. People are most important. Success has many forms. Programs that contribute to shifting perception of rehabilitation from punitive to positive and productive is critical in reducing stigma and isolation, in acknowledging the importance of trauma-informed care, in responding to those formerly incarcerated in a direct and practical way in order to lift them upward instead of falling back down, because it's about people. The direct and only way to do this is a program that clearly not only tells them, but shows them this: I see you. I recognize your worth. People, above budgets, who are not chess pieces. Humanizing one another by treating each other humanely is our job, everyone's job. I don't care what your profession is. From all accounts that I, limited knowledge, have, ECRSSA did that in spades in their original model, and I believe they should be allowed to continue to do this invaluable work of saying and showing and proving, we see you, you are worthy. Here, let's show you what a second chance looks like. You're not alone. Everyone deserves help, and everyone deserves hope. Last night, I was down at County Council, and I requested them to rescind. 1 month from yesterday, June 2nd, 1 month from then, is the anniversary, the memorial of Marcello Woodard, who was murdered by his parole agent. I made the request in his honor because I believe that it is our sacred duty to link reentry with tragic outcomes like his. They're connected. May Marcello rest in peace. May his family be comforted. And may we do everything in our power to link people to people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Council. Erin Meisner, City of Erie, Lower East Side. First, I just want to say happy Pride and thank you for continuing to be a sanctuary city. There are 540 anti-LGBTQ plus laws being considered today across the country. And just a reminder to the public, if you are in the queer community, to check the laws before travel, especially related to ID and bathrooms. I hate that I have to say that. I'm going to talk a little bit about ECRSSA. What should be mentioned first is the lack of professional demeanor by a few employees here on official business and how that translates into confidence in their job skills, attitudes, and relationship with reentry clients. I'm appalled. I know just several things off the top of my head that I wrote down here. I know plenty of nonprofits who are sustained for many, many years successfully on CDBG and other grants. That's how nonprofits work. Most of them do get grant money. They hire grant writers and get grant money. Why does the comfort of the client require off-site meeting places? Why can't they come there? Is it because it's located, they have to go past the sheriff, they have to go through a metal detector, they have to see parole and probation officers where it's causing them so much trauma they can't walk in the building, and so they have to have these very private conversations in a public place instead? That's your other opportunity, instead of putting it somewhere where the people you're trying to help can feel safe where they're being helped. Why does self-report of mental health and substance abuse by self-selected clients be such a concern of an advisory board when the recidivism rate is so incredibly low? What they're doing is clearly working, and these are self-reported numbers. Well, I don't know what you want the caseworkers to do if they ask a question and they say, no, I don't have any mental health problems. If you have a job, all the other stuff falls into place. Everything else is better if you can freaking afford to live. You can't go to school and be in parole and have your full-time job, have the hours that you have to have. It's too much. It's almost impossible for anybody to currently be doing. The same-day closure thing. I know the answer to that. I, unfortunately, have only been studying this about 2 months. But if you're not from Erie County, you get dropped off at the Erie City Mission, whether you have a bus pass or not, or whether they have beds or not, and given $20. They say, see you later. So these people walk into the reentry program because they have nowhere to go. They have $20, and all reentry can do, because you are not a citizen of the county, is give you a bus pass. So you know what that means? They're open and closed on the same day. But that also makes the success rate inflate higher, because it's just people that you're giving a bus pass to that you haven't helped at all. Women also can rarely be served in Erie County because there's no program here for them. I mean, this is just a huge thing. There's no place for women to go. Women are on parole sitting at the prison because they don't have a place to live. Unless you have family who can take you in, you're not coming to Erie because there's no place for you here. And I guess just lastly, there's so many questions. There's just so many questions that still need to be answered. I'm just really asking that you don't give them money until we have more answers. Thank you.
Jen Paulson. I'm a resident of Mill Creek, but I feel compelled to move to speak on this, actually, after a couple of things that I've heard mentioned. Firstly, I actually want to acknowledge what Deontay said. I think as myself as a white individual, I think it's important that we always hold space for someone who is saying that they're not being heard enough or that they're not being seen enough. So I think personally I'm going to really reflect on that. And I think we will be in touch with people that were part of the reentry program and get them to come speak. My biggest concern with this was that there was no competitive bid that was issued. Regardless if the program was funded with grants and donations, which the program was funded. I've heard someone say it was inconsistently funded, but then I read somewhere else that the program was also funded for the next 4 years. I also find it odd that I put in a right-to-know request early this week to the county and both the DA's office, asking them what processes were followed, what correspondence was sent regarding the program creation under GCAC in 2016, and both the YMCA back in 2022. This morning, actually, when I was sitting in this meeting, I received an email that it would take 30 days to get those records back. I just find it weird that it's going to take 30 days for those, but somehow Bob Cataldi did not file a rationale request to add the ordinance to the Finance and Personnel meeting until a week before the meeting. So if we were in such bad financial status for so long, why did that only get filed a week before? Again, I know you guys have a background in law and you like to follow processes apparently, so let's look back at that one before we accept some money. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Amy Eisert. I am a resident of Edinburgh, Pennsylvania, but I'm here to speak. I didn't plan on speaking, but just feel compelled to do so. I've heard my name a lot in terms of discussions around this issue. Unfortunately, fortunately, I have had the opportunity to have discussions with people who have reached out to me and asked. A lot of the people who are saying my name, I've never even met. And I think it's unfortunate that we live in a world right now that unfortunately I think we all have the same ultimate goal, but in terms of the communication, it's just breaking down and it's broken. And so I just wanted to say thank you to City Council for providing the opportunity to do a presentation, to engage in a study session. I don't think, and I only speak for myself, but because I don't speak for an advisory, but I'd welcome questions. You should have the hard questions when it comes to dealing with people. I'm the numbers person, but I get that. I get that numbers are people. My own cousin is a homicide victim in Erie in 2020. So I get that numbers are people. I don't overlook that. But I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity. I came here primarily today to listen, and I appreciate that opportunity. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Ebony Frith. I'm the director at the Erie Community Correction Center. I also did not plan on speaking, but I just wanted to say a few things based on some of the things I heard. First, I would just say that I have, because I work at the Erie Community Correction Center, I've worked with the reentry program since it started as a counselor, as the director in the institution when they used to come into SCI Albion, and I worked at SCI Albion. We have always worked in partnership to do the best that we can for the men who are returning to the community. They need a lot of support and things that we just can't provide as employees of the Department of Corrections. We've depended on the reentry program to fill the gaps, to have conversations and work with them in ways that we couldn't with the Department of Corrections. I would say that when the program was taken over by the YMCA, there was a change. There was a definite breakdown in relationship, and there was a change in services. What our reentrants, we call them reentrants returning to the community, we provide transitional housing. They need a lot more than what we provide. So when we make referrals to the reentry program, what we were used to before is they received mentorship. They worked on issues other than just employment. They talked about all of those things. It's not just employment. If it was just employment, we wouldn't have this issue. There's a multitude of issues that people need to work on and have that type of support. I can say that our men do go to the program, and they still go up there right now, but what they're used to is they go for a bus pass. And very, very quick things. So to say that's what success looks like, that's not what success looks like. Because for us, in 120 days, what we're saying is you have to get a place. You know, your time at our facility is up, and we expect you to transition into the community. What we were looking for is maybe services that can help with the transition, not just getting a job that a lot of people can't necessarily keep. There's drug and alcohol issues and mental health issues. And if those things aren't addressed, you don't maintain a job. What you do is you ruin a good job. You ruin a good job, because as soon as you get a decent job, you haven't addressed those issues, and it does not last. This is a difficult population to work with. It's difficult, and it requires a lot of effort and a lot of different strategies, and it's a lot more than just getting a job. A lot of people need a lot of assistance. I would ask that you, I'm glad there's going to be a study session, but I would ask that you support the new staff that's coming on. One of the other reasons it would not be a good idea to still have that at the YMCA, have it where it's at. People who have different issues, you know, that we have sex offenders who are in the community who are also trying to make a change. They should not be going into the YMCA. There's kids there. And if parents knew that, I don't think they would be comfortable, which I did have a conversation with people at the YMCA about that issue, that it's not a good idea to have it here when you have different offenders going into the building where there's children. So that was one of the reasons, having it at that location. The people who come from our facility, we have about 400 men who come through our facility re-entering the community per year. They have no issue going up into the office. They're not on probation. And a lot of the people that are served through the community, they're not on probation. Some people are still inmates serving their sentence in the community. Some people are on parole and not on probation. Some people have already maxed their sentence and looking for assistance. So the people who are serviced are not affected by probation. Some of them are, but other ones aren't. And I think that people kind of forget those things. There's a lot of different things. And I think in general what I've heard, people are speaking from the heart, and they care about what happens to this population. They want to see them successful. And this new program, going back to the fidelity of the program, is really what works. Those numbers of the recidivism, that's for a short period. That has nothing to do with, a year down the line, 2 years down the line. That's when you're going to look at what those rates are. 30 days or getting a bus pass, or I got a job at this place, and then you're shut off. And I can say, I know some of our people, they don't go back. They get their bus pass, and then they're done. You can't consider that a success. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Council. My name is Michael Hawes. I live on the east side of Erie. I didn't expect to speak today, but I feel the need to bring a few things to light. First off is I used to live in the R West Bayfront neighborhood before moving to the east side, and I can tell you with certainty that there is a stark difference between those two neighborhoods, and I believe that it's incumbent upon this council to make those two areas equal. I believe also that there has been an abdication of responsibility, not only by this council, but by county council as well, in asking for information from a population that doesn't have the resources nor ability that this council or other councils do. I did not expect to come to this meeting today. I have not participated and shown up at as many meetings as I would like to. And that's a difficult thing to do, to show up. And I think that expecting the people who are most affected, the people who are most at risk, to come, show up, and to give council, to give government the information that they require to anticipate the needs of government is asking and abdicating the responsibility that you have. 20 years ago, it would have been much harder to collect a large amount of information. Now, through social media, through data aggregation, that is much more feasible. You can also just go out into the communities, walk around and talk to people. I love Erie, and I have seen many, many of my peers leave. I expect many more will leave in the next few years. And I want to comment also on the nonverbal communication. In my time sitting here, watching this meeting, I've seen several council members be almost exclusively on their cell phones or seem to not be paying attention at different moments in time. As a citizen of this community and someone who doesn't attend a ton of meetings but comes here, that felt very dismissive and broke a bit of trust that I had between myself and my government. I hope that you're able to earn that trust back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, council people, my name is Alan Brown, and I live in Northeast. I have two unfortunate distinctions. The first is, I was the first 16-year-old child certified as an adult in this county, given a life sentence during Gerald Ford's reign. So I went to jail at 16 years old. I came home during Biden's reign, 47 years later. Extremely motivated? Yes. Concerned? Yes. The most important thing I've heard in this room, and I hope it came from your hearts, because it seems to be a mandatory act, the Pledge of Allegiance. Liberty and justice for all. That moves me every time I hear it. The Constitution is not some old dusty parchment that was composed in a mildewed basement somewhere. It was written with a beam of light by God's own hand. There is no such thing as a job, and I use the term lightly, as a professional, that warrants you to have the power to slam a steel curtain shut between the Constitution and those exiting prisons. I don't know where to begin trying to explain these things to you. In honor of Craig's brother's question, these reentry people, as it's addressed, aren't here because for the first time in their lives, they have jobs at Erie's largest industries, like Erie's Magnetics, McShane Welding, Don John Shipbuilding, Lincoln Metals. They have jobs. They're working. They're not just out there on the street. They can run down here. It would be nice if they could be here. But that really bears no light or statement that justifies treating a group of people as if there's a steel curtain that slams between them and the Constitution because they were in prison. If you delude yourself into believing that once a person goes to prison, once they're on the inside of that fence, that no matter how long they're there, no matter how much they better themselves, that they lack redeemable qualities, you are not much of a human being. It isn't about me. It's about the fathers and mothers who are still in prison, waiting to exit, that now have no hope. My second distinction is being the senior case manager in the reentry program that has just recently been assassinated to this group. All it took was someone to push 10 numbers who sits on council to me and ask, what was the status of reentry? At no time have we ever died, nor will we. It amazes me that people have such a colorful imagination to sit here and draw all of these stories for you. I was always under the impression that reentry was about bettering the people exiting and bettering the community. Don't think that industry has not been affected by this as well. I don't know if any of you sat last night at the council, but I brought an owner of one of Erie's largest industries there last night to tell you that not only does he have 40 people from us, but he suffers a lot of client loss because he don't get any more. Don John Shipbuilding are the people who went down to Baltimore when that ship hit the bridge and went down from Erie, and got that ship out of the water with 30-something people that we placed there. This wasn't some useless agency. It wasn't about money. We didn't make money off of our people. We didn't send people to BPS where they get an $8 or $9 hourly wage. We got them sustainable wages at every place we sent them. And it was always Erie's biggest industries that accepted them. These people aren't pawns. They're human beings. They're fathers, they're siblings, they're sons, they're grandbabies. They have every right to the happiness that each of you have. And I would like you to not answer this question for me, but look in your heart for it. If it was your child or someone you loved or was important to you, would it have been so easy to slam the door shut on them like that? Would it have been so easy to be emotionally calloused about the fallout that would come from a hasty decision based
Thank you. That's the time. So,
nearly anything?
Thank you.
Thank you.
First timer, I'll learn.
All right, it wasn't here.
Good morning. I wasn't going to do this, but I've had enough.
Could you say your name? Sorry.
I'm Brother D. Gerald Craig Sr. I've been in reentry for the last 40-something years. I spent 31 years of my life in the system. Can I get a witness, Mr. Horton? There's been some things said here today that are outright lies. Outright lies. I didn't want to call nobody out. But first of all, outside of Mr. Horton and Mayor Devlin, nobody has come and asked the people who've been working in reentry a damn thing from this side, except for Mr. Jones, who I went to and begged him to reapply. So I don't know where the narrative come from that he was told he couldn't apply and he was shot down because he's got a criminal record. We ain't got criminal records. So that makes no sense. And still would like for him to apply. But the narratives that's being floated are to fulfill somebody else's agenda. And I get it. I get it. And first of all, to the lady that got up talking about they didn't talk to anybody from the reentry community, any ex-felons or anything. I held a focus group when this program started, and the room was full. Can I get a witness, Judge Piccinini? I did 3 presentations between the House of Prayer Church and the Erie One about this program. I've been here since its inception. I'm invested in this. When I leave here sometime today, I'll be over at the courthouse bailing my own son out. So people need to watch their mouths about what they're saying, because they don't got facts unless their agenda is bigger than the facts. And whatever happened to fact checking anyway? Is that still a thing? Is that still a thing is what I want to know. Because apparently some people ain't doing it. Do your research. Come to the people that know who are there. I'll tell you what, if you take this program and tie it up in this, like it's being done, it's hurting my son. It's hurting those people that are coming home. I'm the guy that lived next door to people who get murdered. I'm the guy whose son gets shot 2 or 3 times. So all of you who don't live in our community, call yourself representing our community, you can kick rocks with me because you don't represent me. And you don't represent none of the people I know. Yeah, that part right there. And then last thing I'll say, the young man spoke eloquently about bringing information from the people who live down there. I happen to have the biggest street team in the city of Erie for the last 15 years. We have about 50 people that live in the community that show up daily. Be more than willing to talk to you about anything East Side. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brother D, thank you for your comments. I appreciate you. I have never had an issue with you, and I don't intend to have one. I do want to say that neither one of us know what goes on in our families. So I think it's all very important to understand that I may have similar issues that you have that you just don't know about, regardless of where I live. My concern is not.
Can you state your name?
Yes, Cindy Schreiber. I'm sorry, born and bred in Erie and raised or live in Erie or Edinburgh currently. I'm sorry. Our concern with ECRSSA is not that it is needed. It is desperately needed, but it is desperately needed to be done properly. And there are situations that have occurred where that has not happened. There's groups and situations being referred to that it is being misrepresented that they are being created right now, and they were already created by the Y, and we have documentation from that. So when we're talking about proof, like we have letters, we have documentation about these programs and these things that were happening within the Y ECRSS team. So when a presentation is made, hey, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this, yeah, well, that's because they were doing it already. Right? I think one of the problems here, well, there's 2 problems. Number one, nobody who is advocating for any kind of justice wants to go speak to anybody when we're getting phone calls from nonprofit leaders and persons that are being told to tell us to shut up. I'm not going to go have a conversation with somebody who does that. I'm just not. That's intimidation, and I'm not interested in that kind of dialogue. I'm not. I have not threatened anybody, and I don't expect that that's an appropriate way to respond or to create a dialogue. And that's happened several times now. We need to remember that while we are trying to create a program that is better than anything that it's been, the way to do it is to not do it in probation. It's a different model. We have so much emotional tension tied up around probation and parole in the past year, and for many people, long before that. Okay? And it's not just people in this room, it's people here. We all have situations that are identifiable with each other. And because I may not have in a neighborhood or somebody else may not live in my neighborhood does not mean that we should not be acknowledging that humanity needs to be the focus. And I don't think that that's what's happening. I think the data is being driven, that there are hurt feelings that were created that have created ulterior motives. And I think that that's sad because, as Deontay said, like, we're not talking to reentry people. I will tell you that several of the major industries were going to actually pay their people to come down and talk. But they're working. That's kind of the point. They're working. And they already get phone calls at 9 o'clock to be with their probation at 10 o'clock, and then they have to go check in here, and they have to go and check in there. And luckily, those industries are tolerant and patient of those schedules. But they're not going to be here if they're working. I think there needs to be a town hall, a huge conversation in the county and city with people who represent all of the parts and pieces of this. Paul Gamble spoke last night very eloquently on his role in starting ECRSSA and how disappointed he is and what has happened. There are several people who have come down and spoke. Don John came down and spoke last night. There are people from all different aspects of how this program is running and being affected and affecting others that are speaking, okay? But the ultimate situation is if there are facts that are not being shared, then that creates distrust, and it creates a lack of transparency. And we don't need that right now. We don't need that right now. I can tell you that when I say something, and people who know me, I come with paperwork. I come with paperwork. So anything that I have said has come from paperwork. It's come from documents. It's come from PA budgets. It's come from letters. It's come from budgets. It's come from grants. If I wanted to get up here and be emotional, you would see a wholly different side of me, because I am very emotional and I would be standing here crying. But that's not my place, and that's not my right to cry tears for somebody who's struggling. I don't feel that that's appropriate. If people can work together, this would be a different story. But there are some of us who are trying to, and there are some of us who are not. And I think each one of those groups are getting involved with maybe some malfeasance, nefarious other intentions, or just being told things. I'm not sure. There is no hidden agenda for me. I'm not benefiting at all here, none whatsoever. I have no aspirations for political. I'm going back to school. I have 2 grandchildren. I live in Edinburgh. I'm here because I'm trying to do something right. I'm trying to do it the right way.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Linda Graffius, born and raised in Erie, but live in Mill Creek. I don't have to say anything about ECRSA because my daughter does that so eloquently. But I do want to also address what was observed and the young man spoke about was the use of phones. We are asking our children to not have their phones at school. And I would like to see that happen here. There's no reason that anybody has to have their phone out scrolling, and then that shows their body language too. Most of you are very attentive, but there was one person in particular who was very offended. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Titus?
Yes.
I want to take the unusual. I'm going to take the unusual opportunity, because we normally don't respond. But a lot of you send us information and you email it to us. And while you're presenting, oftentimes we're looking at that information. And some of y'all don't send us no one-pagers. You send us, And so, and so I can just speak for me. I probably will be on my phone because I'm checking information. Anybody who knows me know I ain't stay in school long, but I stayed there long enough to learn how to read. And sometimes that even means in between the lines. So just give me some grace. Don't let it bother you too much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here for public comment? Anyone else for public comment? Anyone else for public comment? Council, at this point, I would like to call for a motion for us to go into executive session.
So moved.
Can we go ahead and take the vote on that motion? Lori, we need to take a vote. Oh, sorry.
Hurry up, I'll get the vote for Kathy.
Motion by President Titus, seconded by Member Horton, to go into executive session. Members Brzezinski, Flores.
Yes.
Horton.
Yes.
Pohl.
Yes.
Choff. Troop.
Yeah.
Titus.
Yes. So at this point, we have the majority vote. We will go into executive session about real estate and personnel issues. in council, we will meet over in chambers over here.
In the caucus?
In the caucus rooms.
Okay, City Council will recontinue the regular meeting. It is 11:25.
And just as a reminder, we just met in executive session to discuss realty and personnel. I just completely lost my words there, so thank you. All right, now we'll go back into our regular agenda.
Okay, ordinances for final passage. Council File Number 16609, Official Ordinance 30, 2026. An ordinance amending Ordinance Number 26, 1958, the Traffic Code of the City of Erie by the installation of stop signs at 3 intersections. Number 1, McCarter Avenue and Pennsylvania Avenue, stopping at McCarter. Number 2, Atkins Street and Birch Court, stopping on Birch Court. Number 3, West 39th Street and Fruit Street, stopping at Fruit Street. Sponsored by Councilmember Troop, seconded by Councilmember Horton, that Council File Ordinance Number 16609, and now known as Official File Ordinance 30, 2026, be finally passed by City Council. Members Brzezinski?
Yes.
Flores?
Yes.
Horton?
Yes.
Pohl?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Troop?
Yeah.
Titus?
Yes.
City Council pass Official File Ordinance 30, 2026, finally by yea 7, nay 0. Council File Number 16610, Official Ordinance 31, 2026, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Erie, the city determining to incur lease rental debt evidenced by the guaranteed revenue bond at the maximum principal amount of $2,784,063 to be authorized and issued by the Erie City Water Authority in connection with the construction, alteration, and improvements to the public water distribution facilities in and about this city, including but not limited to the customer side, galvanized service line replacement project, Phase 5, and paying related costs, fees, and expenses, specifying the realistic useful life of the project, authorizing and directing the appropriate officers of the city to take certain actions and to execute certain documents, including a guarantee agreement between the city as guarantor and the Erie City Water Authority and the Pennsylvania Infrastructure Investment Authority, approving the form, maximum, guaranteed amounts and sources of payment of the guarantee agreement, creating a sinking fund in connection with such guarantee obligations, and appointing a sinking fund depository, and providing for the repeal of all inconsistent ordinances or parts of ordinances. Sponsored by Councilmember Schaaf, seconded by Councilmember Brzezinski, that Council File Ordinance Bill Number 16610, and now known as Official File Ordinance 31, 2026, be finally passed by City Council. Members Brzezinski?
Yes.
Flores?
Yes.
Horton?
Yes.
Pohl?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Troop?
Yes.
Titus?
Yes.
City Council passed Official File Ordinance 31, 2026, finally by yea 7, nay 0. Council File Number 16611, 32, 2026. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Erie, the city determining to incur lease rental debt evidenced by the guaranteed revenue bond on the maximum principal amount of $8 million to be authorized and issued by Erie City Water Authority in connection with the construction, alteration, and improvements to the public water distribution facilities in and about this city, including but not limited to the West 12th Street Maintenance Facility renovation and distribution system programmatic financing and paying related costs, fees, and expenses, specifying the realistic useful life of the project, authorizing and directing appropriate officer of the city to take certain actions and to execute certain documents, including a guarantee agreement between the city as guarantor and the Erie City Water Authority and the Pennsylvania Infrastructure Investment Authority, approving the form, maximum guaranteed amounts, and sources of payment of the guarantee agreement, creating a sinking fund in connection with such guarantee obligations, and appointing a sinking fund depository and providing for the repeal of all inconsistent ordinances or parts of ordinances. Sponsored by Councilmember Shaw. Seconded by Councilmember Brzezinski. The Council File Ordinance Bill Number 16611, and now known as Official File Ordinance 32, 2026, be finally passed by City Council. Members Brzezinski?
Yes.
Flores?
Yes.
Horton?
Yes.
Pohl? Shaw? Troop? Titus?
Yes.
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 City Council passed Official File Ordinance 32, 2026, finally by yea 7, nay 0. Ordinances for first reading. Council File Number 16612, appropriating the sum of $254,061 from unappropriated and anticipated revenue to be received from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, which is HUD, for the following Emergency Solutions 26 projects. Sponsored by Councilmember Shaw, seconded by Councilmember Brzezinski. The Council File Ordinance 16612 having been read is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. Members Brzezinski?
Yes.
Flores?
Yes.
Horton?
Yes.
Cole? Yes. Shaw?
Yes.
Troop?
Yes.
Titus?
Yes.
City Council read and adopt Council File Ordinance 16612 by yeas 7, nays 0 on first reading. Council File Number 16613, an ordinance appropriating a sum of $797,014.86 from unappropriated and anticipated revenue to be received from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, for the following home M26 projects. Sponsored by Councilmember Shaw, seconded by Councilmember Brzezinski. The Council File Ordinance Number 16613 having been read is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. Members Brzezinski?
Yes.
Flores?
Yes.
Horton?
Yes.
Cole? Shaw?
Yes.
Troop, Titus?
Yes.
City
You're
Council
reading or
read
voting very fast.
Council File Ordinance
Love it.
16613 by yeas 7, nays 0 on first reading. Council File Number 16614, an ordinance appropriating a sum of $2,909,512 from unappropriated and anticipated revenue to be received from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, and $5,000 program income for a total of $2,914,512 for the following community development block grant CD26 projects. Sponsored by Councilmember Shaw, seconded by Councilmember Brzezinski. The Council File Ordinance 16614 having been read is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. Members Brzezinski?
Yes.
Flores? Horton?
Yes.
Yes.
Cole? Yes. Shaw?
Yes.
Troop?
Yes.
Titus?
Yes.
City Council read and adopt Council File Ordinance 16614 by yeas 7, nays 0 on first reading. Council File Number 16615, an ordinance amending the City of Erie zoning ordinance to designate the former Erie Labor Temple, 1701-1707 State Street, as a historic site pursuant to Article 7 of the revised City of Erie zoning ordinance Number 80, 2005, and to amend the zoning map to reflect such designation. Sponsored by Councilmember Shaw, seconded by Councilmember Brzezinski. The Council File Ordinance 16615 having been read is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. Members Brzezinski?
Yes.
Flores?
Yes.
Horton?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Troop?
Yes.
Titus?
Yes.
City Council read and adopt Council File Ordinance 16615 by yeas 7, nays 0 on first reading. Council File Number 16616, an ordinance amending the City of Erie zoning ordinance to designate the Erie Manicore Club, 1607 State, as a historic site pursuant to Article 7 of the revised City of Erie zoning ordinance Number 80, 2005, and to amend the zoning map to reflect such designation. Sponsored by Councilmember Shaw, seconded by Councilmember Brzezinski. The Council File Ordinance Number 16616 having been read is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. Members Brzezinski?
Yes.
Flores?
Yes.
Horton?
Yeah.
Cole?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Troop? Titus?
Yes.
City Council read and adopt Council File Ordinance 16616 by yeas 7, nays 0 on first reading. Council File Number 16617, an ordinance amending the City of Erie zoning ordinance to designate the South Erie Iron Works Company Building, 1919 Peach, Erie, Pennsylvania, as a historic site pursuant to Article 7 of the revised City of Erie zoning ordinance Number 80, 2005, and to amend the zoning map to reflect such designation. Sponsored by, you guessed it, Councilmember Shaw, seconded by Councilmember Brzezinski. The Council File Ordinance 16617 having been read is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. Members Brzezinski?
Yes.
Flores?
Yes.
Horton? Cole?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Troop? Titus?
Yes.
Yes.
City Council read and adopt Council File Ordinance 16617 by yea 7, nay 0 on first reading.
Lori, I have to leave.
Okay.
Just let me know. All right, thank you.
Have a good one, sir.
Last day of school.
New business.
There is no new business, correct?
No old business, but there is new business.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Do we need a first and a second?
Make a motion to move the balance.
I'll second that.
Take the box. Okay. Motion to move the balance of the agenda. Any separations?
No. Nope, I think we're good, Lori.
We're good.
Moving the balance of the agenda. Members Brzezinski, Flores,
Yes.
Horton,
Yeah.
Cole, Shaw,
Yes.
Troop, Titus.
Yes.
Resolution passes. We move on to committee reports.
Okay, we'll go ahead and start with you, Councilor Pohl.
Thank you. I just want to start by the gentleman that was here. I appreciate everything he said and for coming in. Excuse me. I try very much to be attentive to everyone that speaks, and if he saw me not looking, I write. And I have like 3 pages written here of what everyone said, so I just wanted to make sure that was cleared up. I attended the, excuse me, the Veterans Memorial Park on Glover Park Avenue Memorial Day. It was a very somber and needed day and a remembrance for all that served. Excuse me, I had a Port Authority meeting last Wednesday, and what she spoke of, or what they spoke of this morning, was what they went over last week. So I was very happy that they can come here and let the public know that they're still working, and it's going to be a long haul. But I think we're moving in the right direction and listening to the citizens down there that have been affected by the coke plant for 4 years. The Environmental Advisory Board was here, and they're always doing good. I found out that they have 3 openings on their board, so if anyone's interested, I reach out to anybody that cares about the environment and wants to have a say to sign up, to be maybe put on the board, or to even come to their monthly meeting just to listen to see what they do. I attended last Friday the groundbreaking at the upcoming Trust Hotel that when I was growing up was a Baldwin building, then changed to the Renaissance Center. It's a good project. Hopefully they can, I'm just glad that they're not knocking down all these beautiful buildings anymore, and just revitalizing them somehow. And it's not all on the city. It's a private investor with, private funding. So the historic preservation meeting was held on Monday. And that's always very interesting because it coincides with the Baldwin building. And it's just good to see, because I can remember going up and down State Street and all those buildings are gone or made into not so nice buildings anymore. But that was before we had anyone to speak up People just bought the buildings and did what they wanted to do. So firefighter pension meeting was yesterday, and we had 2 retirees, firefighter Fraze retired, and Assistant Chief Greg Purchase. So I wish them both well in their upcoming endeavors. Wonderful retirement. That's it.
Thank you. Councilor Flores.
My committee reports come later in the week. I have the Parking Authority next Tuesday, so I will try to attend through Zoom. It's just while I'm in commute to work, so it's kind of not the best time. But I also wanted to mention that if people are interested in getting involved with the Environmental Caucus, you just have to reach out to the Environmental Caucus. They will put you on the Zoom, on the email list so that you know when the meetings are, but it's the last meeting of the month. I think it's the 4th Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. But they are trying to just be more environmentally conscious. We do border the lake, so that's our fresh water, so it is good for us to be aware of what is being worked on, but also that this group of people are trying to work with developers. That way our building material is more environmentally friendly. I know they've been trying to get a plastic bag ban going on just because there's so much plastic waste and we are consuming that, and that's not good. So if you are interested, that is an option for you to be involved, and you can go back and rewatch any of the meetings through Zoom, well, not through Zoom, but the Facebook and our YouTube channel. I also wanted to mention that with it getting warm, please, as motor vehiclists, please be aware of the pedestrians that are walking, are physically disabled and are intellectually disabled, need a little bit more time than what we're giving when people are crossing the road, but also down by the Blasco Library. Some cars are aware that they are supposed to stop for pedestrians, and some just blow through. And that's kind of dangerous when we have the right-of-way technically as pedestrians, and people might not be all there to know that they should stop. I work with intellectually disabled, so I'm always teaching my client to be aware of the parking lot and the driveway and making sure that she is aware of the dangers of vehicles, because just because you see them doesn't mean they see you. I also wanted to say that with school getting out, please be mindful of going through residential neighborhoods, because sometimes we're a little bit speed happy and we're going a little bit faster than the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, and the last thing we need to do is be the reason why a family is experiencing a tragic summer because we weren't paying attention. So just be mindful of the children who are enjoying their summer, because this is the best time of the year for them. And that's all I wanted to report.
Thank you. Councilor Brzezinski, we'll go ahead and work our way down. Councilor Brzezinski, if you would like to give your report.
Things are, I think you all know that you made the Erie Convention Center a little bit uneasy last meeting. I would caution you folks to, maybe because I'm old, I use my brain more than my heart. But when you turn down a tremendous opportunity for the Bayfront because of birds that might fly into a 2-story building, it's no wonder we're the laughing stock. Thank God that, let me be proactive on this. In the future, whenever we have anything like this, we should have the Planning Commission and the Zoning Commission come to us in a study session or whatever and get all of those questions answered before they put us on the spot. Now, a lot of you folks, you've been around City Hall and stuff, but you're still brand new. So it's tough to try to make a decision when all the bricks are being piled on your shoulders. I understand that, but you can't cave in. If you don't trust the Planning Commission and the Zoning Commission, get rid of the damn thing and bring in people that do it. Fortunately, we do have a good group up there, a group that works well. And to scream and yell that we're closing the garage doors after all the cars are stolen, it doesn't make sense. I was on vacation last week, and I spent quite a few hours on the phone I digress. Anyway, I'm looking forward to that next vote, and we can finally move forward with it. If anybody has any questions, please, if you don't come to me, come to somebody, get your answers before the meeting. Otherwise, we're going to be fool's ellie. The other airport authority, so many things are happening, but with the gas crunch and Iran one day this way and the other day the other way, everybody's kind of moving slowly with the flights that we're going to add to Chicago and things like that. I have nothing to report on it yet, but once we do get a full handle on it, we'll be the first to know. Sorry that I had to lambaste, but we got to do a better job, folks. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Horton?
Sure. I attended the Housing Authority.
You probably have to, I don't think I'm picking. No, you go.
I attended the Housing Authority legislative breakfast, and they laid out their 3-year plan or annual plan. They had some interesting things. I think she's going to send the PowerPoint over. So for those who weren't able to make it, I recommend that you look at it, since housing is a critical part of what we're trying to do. We appointed a land bank representative from council. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council. And E.J. Fike, who's going to work integral with the building for property management. I'm just trying to get this verbiage still right as we go through the change over those things. And I do realize that the last week's or a week and a half ago, the financial press conference where we talked about the $12 million, I do think that elevated should have elevated us to a sense of urgency to do some stuff. And so a lot of the things I'm trying to do is not be distracted by what's coming down here, but some of those distractions are healthy. And one of those distractions was I met with Erie United, and they want to talk about housing. And I sat with them for about an hour and a half, listened to some of their concerns, fielded as many questions as I could. Told them that at some point, maybe they might consider bringing that stuff to us collectively. And I asked them, I'm always throwing it at you, Dr. Titus. So Dr. Titus might be able to facilitate you doing his presentation as opposed to trying to run us all down one by one and give us the information. I'm of the same mindset. I am my mother's child. Fantastic things happen when you get all stakeholders in one room as opposed to receiving information piecemeal. And so we didn't have a blighted review board meeting. The land bank has a moratorium on purchasing homes until they work out all of the things or impediments that would prevent them from clearing all of the bills or liens or all of that type of stuff off the property. I attended Chief Bauer's ceremony out front here, which as a former officer and come from a family of officers, they're always meaningful to me. And a few days prior to that, we actually did the Fallen Soldiers Memorial on South Park Road here. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Councilor Shaw?
Thank you, Dr. Titus. I, a week ago, Thursday, went to the drug treatment court graduation at the Erie County Courthouse, and there's nothing better than to see people succeed in their stories, and happened to sit behind a person who went up to receive their certificate of no more probation, and it truly was very heartful to be there, and it's just very moving. So I think it's very supportive. The courthouse was, that room was full completely. You know, it was dedicated to saying congratulations and best wishes to the people who were graduating. It was wonderful. I attended the Water Authority meeting, the Historic Commission this week, Trade Licensing Board, and attended the Veterans Memorial Service at the Veterans Memorial Park. And that is a beautiful park. It's very peaceful. It's very moving. And I am glad to see it where it is as well. People should go down there and reflect. I'm also thankful for the Mill Creek Kiwanis Club and their dedication, and anyone helping with the veterans flags going up in our city. And I also attended the ceremony of the lowering of the flag for our past Chief Bowers, who had passed away. And grateful for all the people who were able to attend with the Rib Fest going on, or building up. I'm sure there was parking issues and things like that. So that's great that Erie comes out and supports, gives support. And it's good to hear the Rib Fest was well attended and very delicious. I can attest to that. And because school is getting out, definitely have to piggyback on what everyone's saying as far as you really need to be safe out there. I witness accidents almost happening every single day. So be careful, and also want to extend my congratulations to Assistant Chief Greg Purchase and Aaron Fraze in the fire department for retiring. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll keep my report brief. I wanted to, again, thank everybody for coming down and speaking during our public comment time. And to be mindful that our public comment time really is that opportunity for the public to address council and to address the administration. What I would ask also, though, of the public is that we make sure that we are addressing the administration and council and not necessarily using this as an opportunity to argue with one another in here, because I think that takes away from the solutions that we can create together and to work collaboratively together. I saw that I always get a little cautious when I just see some groups who are coming in and addressing one another versus addressing us, because this really is the opportunity for us to come up with solutions and to work together. I still don't think we've mastered the best way to respond to the public, and so I am open for suggestions from the body here, so that we're not leaving the public feeling like we're not listening. I also want to, I've met with Erie County United. I had also for about around an hour. I did leave that meeting feeling that there's a shift in how they want to approach, just with some of the community advocates, and really wanting to coordinate and bring solutions together and changes that we as council and a body can enact. So I left there feeling very positive with the things that we're going to do together. I met with the superintendent to address some of the issues that I am seeing not only as I wear my council hat, but in some of the other hats around the rise, especially in xenophobia, and left that meeting feeling again that we all want to do better, that we are aware that there is a crisis happening not just here in the city, but across many of the cities in the U.S., and that solutions are being discussed right now. I also would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge, and this is a call out to not just council, but to those who are listening, that there is a steady and consistent rise around suicidality and loss of young life. We had another young person end their life this week who is a member of the Erie Public School System. and this is multiple this past year. And all of the things that we hear during public comment are absolutely related and connected to this. And so this is a call upon every elected official and every community leader to also center this as part of the conversation. Is our young people are believing that there is no future, and that there is a deep loss of hope, and that it is on us to help create that and to create pathways forward. With that being said, it is imperative that we acknowledge that it is Pride Month, because you can't be yourself unless you can see yourself. And so this month celebrates those who have endured various amounts of oppression and still do not have access to civil rights and find themselves target to not just the federal administration, but also just hate in general. We also have our Juneteenth celebration that we'll talk more about, but I challenge all of us to really look at the history of what Pride Month is, and to look at the history of Juneteenth so we can understand why those celebrations are so important, and to make sure that we are showing up and honoring the festivities that we'll see throughout the month. And with that, I'll conclude my report and pass over to the controller.
Hi, my report's brief this week. Just want to say we're still working hard in the controller's office, still continuing to work with mindfulness and intentionality. We're organizing and researching on many important issues up in our office, and just kind of after the first 120 days, we've learned a lot, and workflow is going really well. So I'm very thankful for my staff. I'm also thankful that we're collaborating well with other offices and departments in City Hall, and we're grateful for all the city employees who work so diligently. They do great work. And also, I'm thankful to Mayor Devlin for her thoughtfulness and willingness to do the difficult tasks that are coming up to ensure the longevity of our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor?
Thank you. I will also be brief. Just a couple of shout outs. I appreciate the controller's comments as well. We had some really terrible wind storms last weekend over Memorial Day. And then, of course, the Rib Fest coming right after there. Our Public Works team has just worked so hard during the wind and the cleanup, and then Rib Fest, working with the police department and special events. So just want to give them a shout out. As the controller noted, people work very, very hard around here always, but sometimes particularly. I also want to say I spoke at Erie High's graduation on Saturday. I want to congratulate all of our graduates from our Erie's public schools, as well as those that attend private schools and charter schools in our area. We wish them all the best, and hope to, Dr. Titus, to your point, give them a message of hope and let them know that they have a place here, that they belong here, and we need to do better to make sure that they see that. So I want to note that. Also want to call out the initiative that my office has launched with a partnership through Change.org. Change.org is a national organization that tries to help communities really engage in civic discussion. I think we see the need for that, the need for people to be heard, and then to take that and translate it into policy and into action. So would encourage people to follow that effort on the city's social media pages. There's opportunities to lend your voice and then to work with us again to turn that into policy. So we're looking forward to that partnership and that participation. And lastly, I'm sad that a couple of our colleagues on City Council had to leave because specifically for Ms. Flores, I wanted to let her know probably one of the most impactful things I did over the past 2 weeks was attend a Love Your Block celebration at Roger Young Park on Saturday. And I will say that I was there, they were taking a little time to get set up, so I had some time, and I just walked the park because I felt like, it had been a very long time, if ever, that I had done that truly the entire way around. And I didn't like what I saw. I saw a basketball court that had an enormous amount of cracks in it that looked very dangerous. I saw a pool building that just didn't look the best, and I saw enormous softball fields that don't seem to be being used. So I came back yesterday, met with my leadership team, and I met with the Parks Department. We will be immediately fixing the cracks in the court
and the basketball court at Roger Young immediately, just to go over there and do a Band-Aid approach. And then I have tasked the Parks Department to give me proposals on what it would take to fully redo the basketball court and what it would take to turn the softball courts, the softball fields there, into soccer fields. We hear over and over again that community is crying out for soccer, and we're not listening. And so even to some of the comments that were made today, I've made that a priority. I'd let my team know that yesterday. I know money is tight, but we do have parks money, as Councilor Flores reminds us often. So I just want to let council know that we have decided this is the priority, at least in the beginning. We'll work with planning on the parks plan that comes out in your study session, but we will immediately be taking care of the urgent needs, and then I've tasked them with a larger conversation. So just want to say that. It's unfortunate at the end of a meeting, everybody's gone, but I do think that's important for me to say out loud that is our priority. So with that, we're at noon. Thank you. Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Solicitor, do you have a report?
Just a reminder, Market House revotes on Tuesday, June 9th.
And we welcomed our deputy solicitor.
Oh, that's right. There is the deputy solicitor. I had a meeting at 11 that I couldn't attend, and so I assigned her the task of leaving here at 11 to go handle that matter. But yeah, we are now up to a staff of 3 in the solicitor's office.
All right,
So we
thank
have
you.
to add one of those chairs for our deputy solicitor to sit on the dais as well.
Yes. And a reminder, next week we do, just to kind of reiterate what the solicitor just said, we have a special meeting on Tuesday, and then we have our study session that Thursday. So we will be alive and active in this chamber next week. And with that, we will conclude this meeting.
City Council adjourns at 12:01.
These 4 5 hour